Oh, there it is.
Hello, everybody. We are live on YouTube on another Saturday night.
If you
And we have,
smell what the is cooking, I didn't want to say his name. I wanted to say something else, but I didn't feel like we should start off with the appropriate word for my male anatomy.
okay. Um,
I feel
r-
like that's the first thing we should talk about is the Rock, who is
I
a
mean, I'm
giant.
kind, I'm kind of curious of the toddlers save your money now, uh, from Sir Pat over here, because people might
Oh,
come on and view us and be like,
it's a
"There's
joke.
Coach Jeremy, there's Joe, and then we have the toddlers save your money guy."
It was a joke I saw on Facebook today.
Oh, so did you fight with anybody on Facebook today?
No,
Okay, good.
Oh, how long? Is that a streak? How many days you going on without arguing with somebody on Facebook?
no.
Yeah,
Not a streak. So
not a streak. It
that's a
happened
1 day
yesterday.
thing, a 2 hour thing.
It wasn't even yesterday. I don't remember when it was. Though. I think I don't think it was on Facebook this time. I think it was on Cage Side Seats, and there's like a couple people on that site who I've just become accustomed to um, stupidity on their parts. So this one guy, I mean, he always is saying good stuff about AEW. Never has says anything good about WWE, no matter what he fucking
So he's
tries to say otherwise. He's full of shit. You
so he's
know,
an Uncle Dave. He's an Uncle Dave parrot.
I don't even call him that, but it's like he does so much shit where um who was it that I think he came out this week or that Kevin Owens either I can't remember if it was that he re-signed or that his contract is coming up soon. And the guy was like, "Oh, I'd love to see him in AEW. He'd be blah 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 blah." And he said that about three or four, the last three or four people who they've had an article on about their contract being up or possibly being up or whatever. It just was, oh, I'd love to see him in AEW because blah 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 blah. And it's like, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, his contract's coming up soon, and he's probably going to resign. He's a WWE lifer for sure.
He's, I mean, I'm not the biggest Owens fan. I'm not the way I used to be with him, where I didn't like him at all. That was because when he was just still portraying like the just out and out bully character, and like I always told AJ, I don't like bullies, so that's why I never liked him. Um, but I like him a lot better than now than I did then. But it's like I just don't, unless he's at the point where it's like I want to get paid as much money as I possibly can to work once a week. Um, and I don't really care about the creative side of it, then yeah, if that's what he wants, then fine, go sign with AEW. But if he wants anything else, then don't. So
Yes, very true.
AEW fans have to accept the fact that AEW is just modern day WCW, just that they put on bangers.
It is really just that show is. I don't want to say this. It's something where it is a televised independent show with
Mm-hmm.
very good wrestling matches and very bad storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Did you?
And I of course would dispute the very good wrestling. I think they have okay wrestling, but so much of the wrestling that they do is just not my cup of tea because I think it's absurd, ridiculous, whatever you want to call it. Um,
Uh-oh.
what
What?
the hell was it that happened this past week? Orange Cassidy took a pile driver off the stairs and was back up within like 5 seconds.
Oh
Oh,
yes. So I
that
didn't get a
sounds
chance.
realistic.
There was two spots with that. There was two spots of concern. I don't remember the other one. Not read, I'm sorry. I listened to what Bully Ray said on the Busted Open uh Busted Open the other day after that. And he was not thrilled with a guy he said, who weighs 120 pounds soaking wet, taking a move of that nature and then popping right back up.
Hmm.
He said it
No, I
makes
should have killed him.
0 sense to do something of that nature. Legitimately.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just absurd the way that they no sell shit. I mean, it's permeated into WWE in some levels too, but I mean AEW is still the big perpetrator of that horseshit. So
Yeah, and I understand the no sell if it makes sense in regards to the two people in the ring. Like a really small guy beating up on a big guy. Of course it's going to no sell because there's supposed to be a point in the match where, usually the beginning of the match, where everything that they do, they can't hurt the person. Like they have to pull out something really big in order to hurt them, and then they start to fall victim to the stuff that wasn't hurting them before. You know.
yeah, well I mean another one I still haven't seen this because I can't remember when it happened now. I never went down to try to like find the clip, but it was like a couple months ago now. Moxley was in a match. I don't remember who it was against, but he was taking like the old Power and Glory finisher, where he got superplexed and the other guy came off the other turnbuckle with a splash. So he took the superplex, but when the guy came off for the splash, he apparently got his knees up.
I don't think
Hmm.
so.
And it's like there's no way you should be able to do that in the way
No.
wrestling logic is supposed to be.
No, superplex
So,
is supposed to hurt both people and actually hurt them enough that they are immobilized for at least 4 or 5 seconds.
right, especially when you're taking it off the top turnbuckle too, when you're getting
Yeah.
superplexed. So it's like
correct.
So ridiculous.
or
So
or
silly.
or super played, as Gordon Soley would say.
Super played.
Well, because he always said it was a supplé,
Ooh,
Oh my
suplex,
God.
a supplé.
and I just like it just sounds dumb. I understand why he said it that way, and it may even be the way the word is originally supposed to be pronounced, but I'm just like,
Sounds lame, dude. Stop it.
yeah.
So,
And everything in that Jericho Shibata match last week too. That's like the epitome of the bullshit that is AEW matches a lot of
we
times.
chopped each other 75 times. For
Yeah,
what purpose?
yeah.
Why?
Mhm.
Um,
To show how purple your chest could be by the end of a match?
Yeah, you know,
Well, no, because nobody could see how purple anybody's chest was because the fact that Jericho switched back to the trunks, everybody who watched the match went blind.
y- here's my thing. That is another situation where like the chops are getting overly ridiculous. Um, I don't get it right now. Um, I think
Everybody's
it's
chopping now again.
Hmm.
yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. Honestly,
Ridiculous.
it makes no sense. I'm just not understanding the
No,
concept.
it doesn't. And something that I've
Too
heard said,
much.
something that I've heard said about the chops too is the reason wrestling is supposed to work is because the moves are supposed to not hurt but look like they do, or or look good.
The
Yeah.
chop
And
hurts.
doing excessive chopping does not look good and hurts.
Yeah,
So,
it definitely hurts.
yeah. I remember, I mean, back in like the 80s and everything, even still into the early 90s, I remember like Flair and like Greg Valentine and Ronnie Garvin and Haku throwing chops, and theirs looked legit. But at the same time, I always had it, when of course, it was years later when it came out, when I read Bret Hart's book, I kind of understood his point of view that said that the chops were really stupid because, yeah, they really hurt, but it was like, why are you chopping a guy? You know,
Yeah.
like how does that even work as like a setup kind of thing? So,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it always made sense for me with Ric Flair. Like that always made sense because I've only ever seen him chop. The punches. He punched guys too, but his thing was always the chop. Like that was always kind of ever since I seen it, even back to his earliest wrestling match that I've seen. He always did the chop, so it just kind of made sense with him. Other guys, that bring it into the repertoire, fine, whatever. I don't really care. It doesn't it doesn't personally bother me. But when it becomes a thing in every single match, that's when it's like, okay, so can anybody not chop? Does anybody have the ability to not do that in a match? Because especially in WWE, every time somebody chops, along come the woos, the woos.
I know.
So it's like, come on, man. Like, I just heard this in the last match. Do I need to hear woos in this match too?
What?
That that too is annoying.
Oh,
That's all. That should be only reserved for Stone Cold. Like,
okay. So, let's go here. So, okay, let's get our shit together. What were we talking about first? Because I do want to bring up the Ric Flair video from the restaurant.
the Ric Flair video from the restaurant.
Oh,
I did
you
not
did-
see that. Did you
did
send that
not-
to us?
You did not hear what happened with that?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, we might as well keep on the topic of wrestling since we got here inadvertently by me talking about The Rock, and that wasn't even going to be what we were talking about with The Rock. Had nothing to do with wrestling, just had to do with The Rock itself. So let's go. Let's do this.
Should we divulge into the Ric Flair fanatic?
Yeah, can we show it? Is it
Yeah,
on YouTube?
let's do the Ric.
Oh, it's all over social media.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't even know. Well, go on to X here. Get my daily dose of X.
Yes. just do
I'll
a
just
search
type
of
in Ric
Ric Flair restaurant. Listen, yeah, so for substance, I watched the video. There was two of them, and they're pretty much the same thing. Different outlets it was posted. So Ric Flair is at a bar and restaurant with his family,
Woo!
and he's at the bar
Woo!
yelling at the patrons who work at this bar and restaurant.
Woo!
And I guess this had to do with something where the waiter that was waiting on their table decided to go to the bathroom,
Woo!
and he was in there too long, and he was expecting service,
Woo!
and he was like, "You just lost your $1,000 tip."
Woo!
And he was talking about putting the restaurant over, this, that, and the next thing,
Woo!
and started talking shit.
Woo!
And they're kind of going back and forth. And the patrons who worked there, they were being, civil. They weren't arguing or yelling back. I think they knew what was going on, but were a bit confused. And I think Flair was technically drunk too, because one of them mentioned about being cut off. He's like, "You're gonna cut me off?" Like,
technically
yes.
drunk.
yeah, he was.
Technically drunk. All right, I think I found
Tell,
it.
you
Is
can
like
tell
the
just-
video
you
of
can tell
is the
just
video
by
shot at the
listening
floor?
to him.
Like, is the whole video just the sound and it's like at the floor?
No, you see them at the bar. So play it first before.
Oh, okay. Oh, there he is. I just had to make it bigger.
Yes,
That's all.
they're at there.
Okay, I got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to show this right now, because it's kind of funny. And then the one guy, there's two guys sitting at the bar, and the one guy like wants to fight Ric Flair, wants to take it
Oh
outside.
no.
And this guy's like probably in his late 40s, early 50s. He wants to fight the 70-some-year-old Ric Flair.
Oh Lord, here we go.
All right, go ahead. I hear nothing.
I hear nothing. I see nothing.
Nicholas Dickhead.
Well, I guess Jeremy can hear, but we can't.
Okay,
know.
let me.
I mean, there's captions. This is bad for you. No, I can hear.
Let me start it over. I fucked up. Didn't share the sound or anything.
Put this place over and bring my family and friends here. That is bad for you.
Bad for you.
Well, watch social media tomorrow.
I don't follow social media.
Well,
Oh.
you better.
I don't
Fucking
What's
hilarious.
your name, nut job? Nicholas what? Nicholas Dickhead.
Nicholas Dickhead. That's messed up. It's really funny though. He's like, you should be on social media. You can tell by the way he's talking already that he is definitely inebriated. Like,
Yeah.
because it's slow and it's a little slurred more than normal.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
Don't ever talk.
You don't have to call me that guy.
You don't have to do this to me. If you believe me, leave my family.
I'm not from you.
I didn't do one thing wrong. I walked into the bathroom.
And you cussed on my kitchen manager.
Oh, you're a kid high cost. Really? What world do you live in?
The same world you
What
live
world
in.
do you live in? How did I cost him? Did
What?
I touch him?
I don't understand the costume part.
Yeah. I think he's meant to say, "Did I accost him?"
No. Yeah, he no. The I listened to Cornette talking about this too. That's what he definitely said. The captions are wrong.
Okay.
He definitely
Okay.
said that I accost you.
Okay.
And it's funny because the way he says it, because his words are definitely slurred, it sounds like custom. Did I custom him?
Well, that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
what-
I'm saying the captions probably got it fucked up because he's obviously slurring his words and everything. That
Yeah.
It's funny that he's up on, like, you can tell he's standing, like, they must have one of those ledges that you can put your feet on to stand on, like where the stool is, and then it's got those ledges, because he's like
Yeah,
way
he's
up.
He's not that fucking tall.
Yeah, he's like way up there.
I never say a cuss word.
I never say a cuss word.
That's his word against yours. I didn't say one cuss word.
What cuss word? Fuck.
God. No,
I mean, look at the way he's
I'll
dressed,
give you
too.
$1,000 tip just to say.
It's gonna give you $1,000 tip. Yeah, okay.
No, he's saying I'm still gonna do
Walk
it.
outside here.
Oh, this part's coming up
I
good.
know. You're disrespecting me.
How am I disrespectful?
Telling me to leave.
I'm not telling you to leave, but just telling you that you're cut off.
Oh, I'm cut off and I'm not. Really?
Yes, sir. It don't matter if you're famous or not.
Here, man.
It's so funny because Ric Flair thinks people know who he is still. The only people that know who Ric Flair is are wrestling people.
I'll tell you one thing. I know it's behind the bar here and everything, but obviously customers can see it. That's a hideous floor.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck that is.
Yeah, that is ugly. Not gonna lie.
But yeah, Ric Flair still thinks he's that famous of a person. Like, sorry, dude, it's not the 80s and 90s anymore, even the early 2000s. Like, people don't know you like that anymore. And it's a different time. Like, people don't treat celebrities like I feel like they used to. Like, they're not put on this pedestal. Like, because of social media, people don't put them on these pedestals anymore. At least not all of them.
Yeah.
Ma'am, please give yourself $1,000 tip. $1,000 tip. This guy and I are so cool. She and I are cool. And long comes dipshit.
Yeah, it says Egyptian when he clearly says dipshit.
I know that's the part that makes it even funnier.
I'm leaving.
No, the funny part comes up here too. Now, yeah.
Come on inside here and talk to me like a man.
I'm not going to do that because I'm on the clock.
You push you are the pussy clock.
You're in the pussy clock. What?
Wait. Yeah,
He says he's on the pussy clock. Like, what?
yeah. You're the pussy clock. No, I think the really good part's coming up here now
Yeah.
too.
Yep. We got
Yeah, it
like
is.
30
He's talking
seconds
about-
left.
Because he's talking about going outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to go out and talk with me in the parking lot? I don't work here. I don't give a shit. We'll talk
What's that?
You heard me.
What's that?
This guy down here said, "I'll go out in the parking lot with you."
What you say to me?
What did you say to me?
What do you think? You're talking to
My
me?
whole family here.
I need one of those little bar straws to get spin.
You know how many?
Just one.
Just one?
I'm not mad. I have no reason to be mad. Yeah, good. Well, I didn't do it wrong.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, this is all
So-
going on by those two guys sitting at the bar, and they're probably and that one guy who like was like, "You want to go outside?" I think he was just so sick, and of course, anyone would be get, you know, tired of that rant going on longer than it should have. And my
Yes.
thing about this is too, you know, the coworkers, the patrons at the restaurant did great. They didn't do anything stupid. They, you know, they weren't yelling and screaming at him, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, if Flair had his family there, I one of the things I would have been kind of like, if I was one of the people working there, I would have kind of like been like, hey, Mr. Flair's over there. He's drunk. We're cutting him off. He's pissed off. And now he's kind of yelling at the person. Can one of you kind of come over and get him? Or, you know, just something. Like I just feel like
Yeah, where's
How-
Charlotte in all this?
I don't know who the family members he was with, but it's kind of like if you're seeing him do this and you know he's been drinking a lot, go get him. Like seriously. You just make it a scene. And now he's on social media. And
fact
he
that-
looks like the ass after his ex post as well. So
Like,
it's not good.
at what point in time do you grow up a little bit and realize that you're not 25 years old anymore and you're
Not him.
70 plus years old?
75.
Yeah. You're, like,
He's-
there's this point in time where you got to say, okay, I know what my limit is with liquor, and I probably should stop here because if I don't, I'm going to act like an ass and embarrass myself and everybody that's with me.
No, he.
Unfortunately
you know,
for him, he just-
a long time ago, he ceased to be Richard Fleer and just became Ric Flair full time, and that's why he is the way he is. You know,
yeah, it's
he's
unfortunate.
he's lived his gimmick more than the Ultimate Warrior ever fucking did.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't, and it's not even just like Ric Flair. I can't understand the mindset of somebody that lives their life like that to that extent into that age. Like, I'm all about having a good time, but my good time has changed, and maybe I'm not as cool as I was. I don't think I was ever cool, but that's besides the point. You know, I think there's just levels to it, like how you enjoy how you enjoy the fun. Like in my 20s, yeah, I wanted to consume some alcohol because that was my 20s and that was fun. In my 30s, I still consumed some alcohol. By the time I got to my late 30s and 40s, I was like, okay, alcohol is nice to have because it's a fun thing to chill with, but I don't need it to actually have the fun that I want to have. I can have lots of fun and that without absorbent amounts of alcohol to get me to the fun zone, you know?
Yeah, you stumbled upon that other great equalizer.
Huh?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Oh, yeah. No. So it's just like I said, there's, you know, and I'm not knocking anybody's lifestyle, but when I see people my age going out to the bar and not having one or two, but getting drunk off their ass,
Ow.
kind of drinking, it's just like, I like I said, I don't get it, but I'm not. Everybody's different, and I'm not sitting here to like I just can't comprehend that thought process that goes behind that. So
I get it.
I thought about it, and then I thought it was stupid. I mean, sorry.
So, since we're still on the topic of wrestlers and guys that having bad reputations like Ric Flair,
Well, I just wanted to say real quick before we
yeah,
cut off Flair.
go
I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. It's like he supposedly was there with family, and none of them are intervening in this. They're all letting him do this. They're all letting him make an ass out of himself.
enablers.
Yeah. I mean, it is enabling in a sense. And then, you know, we've got, you know, he went and tweeted about it and everything. And first of all, it's like, I don't know if he's the one who's running his Twitter account or not, but I've never understood with him. If you ever looked at it, a Ric Flair tweet, every word is capitalized. And I don't know.
Yes.
He's
Why
always
did I
yelling
I
at you.
fucking hate that.
Well, no, it's not. It's all caps. It's just that every word is capitalized.
Oh, oh, I never know. I gotta check that out.
And I
It's
don't
kinda funny.
understand why. I don't know who
It's
types.
like I'm Rick Flair.
Well, yeah.
Listen.
But so I mean, but it's like whoever's running his social media account needs to like, if it's him, somebody needs to take his phone away from him, or I don't know. It's just God, it's stupid. It's embarrassing. You know, it's how much is AEW still paying him to sponsor this energy drink that nobody fucking wants? I mean,
Yeah, that's another thing.
I think
Oh,
energy
Ric
drinks have
Flair.
become like the current version of like diet drinks. Remember how like when Slim Fast was big and there was like all these other ones that came up around the same time too, then it was all about which one was like supposedly the best or whatever. Now it's like now it's just like endless fucking energy drinks, you know.
There definitely are. Endless energy drinks. There's a shit ton out there.
And some energy drinks, of course, kill people, which is why they're now being taken off the market. Panera.
You know what? That one's crazy. I've drinking that one too.
You've
And I've
drank
had
it.
zero problems.
You've
I've drank
drank
that
it.
specific. I'm
You've
drinking it.
drank it.
Yeah, I make up words. That's what you do when you start living in the South. You make up words.
Gargle
drank
symbol.
I have drank that specific item at Panera Bread, and I've never had an issue. But I guess that's not for everybody. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not the healthiest person, but I'm also smart enough that if I see a story about a product that's sold and that people have died after drinking it, my first thought is certainly not, well, I got to get me some of that.
Very true.
It's like the
Very
episode of
true.
Space Ghost where Moltar and Zorak were drinking what they call them tall boys. And Space Ghost was like, "Don't you know about the danger of drinking tall boys?" And Moltar's like, "Yeah, but it makes you feel like a cowboy." And then Space Ghost starts drinking them and he spends the whole episode drunk.
Hey,
Yes, you're right. I'm looking at his Twitter as I got my head down. Yeah, that is funny. Every word has got a capital letter.
it does.
And I'm sorry, as I'm reading some of these, there is no way he wrote this stuff.
Well, so that's my other point too. It's like if he like, I
Are
said,
you
if he's
sure
the
about
one-
that?
If he's the one doing the tweeting, then somebody needs to take his phone away. If somebody else is doing the tweeting for him, then they really misread this situation. Again, I'm going to go back to a Cornetism, but he was talking
Cornetism.
about. Well, again, it's
I like it. No, it's fine. It's fine.
yeah, but no, it's like when he was talking about the Brett Screwed Brett interview. It's like Vince thought he was going to be the babyface. In this instance, Rick thought he was going to be the babyface. He thought, I guess, he was going to get sympathy for the fact that they mistreated him. And of course, then the evidence came out. No, you fucking weren't. You were drunk. We don't know what else supposedly went on. Like something about like he was
Following people into the bathroom.
yeah,
to
whatever
get your
happened in the
service.
bathroom. Somebody was taking too long, or somebody was like bothering him in the bathroom. I don't know. It's unclear, but it doesn't matter. Jesus
Yep.
Christ, Rick.
Excuse me, sir. The sink is not the urinal. Could you please stop peeing in there?
Or excuse me, sir. I don't really think you should be snorting that stuff.
Yes, yes.
At least not off the toilet seat. You may want to do it somewhere cleaner.
Oh, too funny.
Oh, yeah. All right. So now that we have finished our fun adventure into Ric Flair world, now we should talk about
The world of Ric Flair.
The Rock. And I was unaware.
Oh, you want to talk about a nearly 30-year-old movie?
Who? What the? No, not that Rock. The Rock. from wrestling.
Welcome to
The Rock. Though that movie was really good, and I'd watch it again right now if I had it.
The Rock is a tourist attraction.
But I was unaware, Darth Pat, until you mentioned it, that The Rock has got a bad reputation within movies. I knew from the Fast and Furious things that he may have had started a bad reputation, but I thought maybe that calmed down after he got away from Vin
He
Diesel.
ruined Superman for me.
Well, yes, that's a good point. When all that Vin Diesel shit came out, I think a lot of people were inclined to think that Vin Diesel was the dick.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of people
Yeah.
did.
Now, as the years have been removed from that, we're starting to find out
Not so much.
So for me, I'm a little surprised, but I'm not entirely surprised. I'm not surprised for the fact that knowing the kind of personality that we've seen in wrestling, that and knowing that that personality is him amped up to 10. I'm pretty sure he's come out in many interviews and said that, you know, and most wrestlers will tell you that their best gimmicks were them turned up to 10. It would not surprise me that he threw his weight around when he first came onto the Fast and Furious franchise. Would not surprise me that he threw his weight around with the whole Superman the DCU stuff. And that was pretty much confirmed that he kind of did that, and which pretty much halted an entire franchise from having something possibly really good with Black Adam and Superman coming up, which is not going to happen because of his thing. And then they dropped Henry Cavill too. So Henry, sorry, not Harry. Henry.
Well, they
Henry
dropped
Cavill.
the whole universe that they had
Yeah.
been doing. I mean, yeah. So they're trying over again, you know, of course with James Gunn in charge. But so for those of us who don't know what we're talking about, so there was a big story earlier this week in The Wrap, which is a WRAP, as in that's a wrap. It's an entertainment website. This article was a subscription article, but it made the rounds and everything. So more than a dozen people who worked with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the upcoming holiday action comedy film Red One criticized his chronic lateness and lack of professionalism on set. Some of the stuff that was levied against him in the article were accusations that he was late an average of 7 to 8 hours per day. Now, obviously, movie productions don't keep like what they call banker's hours, or say like normal 8-hour shifts necessarily, but it's pretty fucking hard to be 7 to 8 hours per day late and get anything done. But anyway,
which means he was probably late back. He probably was late to initial, got his makeup and stuff. Then whenever they braked on shooting, he probably came back late from those breaks, which is just fantastic. Sounds like he's a gem.
Him just being late just pushes back everything.
Yeah, and it said he missed several entire days of production. Supposedly, this added $50 million to the movie's cost. This movie
I'd be fucking pissed about that.
Yeah, this movie was originally supposed to have come out last year. It's now coming out this fall, like I think Thanksgiving time, because it's like a Christmas movie. I mean, let me just see if it says here. No, it really
nothing
doesn't.
like. So this is going to be the Tooth Fairy, but him playing Santa Claus? I'm Santa Claus.
He's not
Kill
playing
you.
he's not playing Santa Claus. J.K. Simmons is playing Santa Claus.
And I like J.K. Simmons. I like him.
Yeah. And Chris Evans and Lucy Liu are also in this, but again, like I said, I mean, this was originally supposed to come out last Christmas season. So I guess this will be released theatrically, even like Amazon is one of like the big things behind this. This won't be straight to streaming. This will be like have a theatrical release. But anyway, it's like they pointed the fingers at the film's inexperienced lead producer Hiram Garcia, who is Johnson's ex-personal assistant and ex-brother-in-law.
Wow.
And who also apparently now runs The Rock's production studio, which is called $7 Production. Now, if you don't get the name, it's because when Rock started wrestling, he had $7 in his pocket.
$7 to his name.
Yeah. Now, so other stuff came out as a part of this, which included him like peeing in bottles on set and having somebody else dispose of them because he just can't be trouble with going to the bathroom. Now, that's something he admitted to on Instagram years ago, and of course, he blamed his workout routine on it, which is also
interesting.
why he was apparently so late so many days, because he just couldn't interrupt his 3 hour long workouts. I
Oh,
didn't realize
yeah.
it took 3 hours to pump yourself full of HGH and everything, but
Hey,
and then there
Rock,
was
send me
all
your cycle.
yeah, there was also the story came out then saying he had a huge fight with Ryan Reynolds when they were filming Red Notice a few years ago. The movie was
I
on Netflix.
I heard about that, but that one was seemed like to kind of go under the radar, like no one wanted to keep talking about it.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds also seems like he's probably a pretty difficult person to uh, annoy. You know, in a sense that Healy was like up to like 5 hours late to set then. Supposedly they have since reconciled, but it took quite a few years. Um, so yeah, it's just like it just sounds like it's a big clusterfuck. And I'm trying to go through some other stuff here. So yeah, so he's been facing some negative backlash for a little while now. All the Black Adam DC stuff, which I think we've talked about a little bit here, but it basically essentially means that he was pushing Black Adam to fight Superman or have a conversation with Superman and just totally ignore anything with Shazam,
Which is
uh,
not good.
which of course is completely contrary to the comics. But the other thing that I don't think I knew maybe quite the extent of was that, and there's differing opinions on this, so I will say that up front. But when David Zaslav took over as head of Warner Brothers Discovery, Johnson and his ex-wife, who they're still business partners and everything, supposedly they went and met with Zaslav, and supposedly they were pitching Seven Bucks Productions taking over management of the DCU.
Interesting.
Ugh.
Which, again, his ex brother-in-law, who was also his ex personal assistant, is now running this, and everybody is saying that he's the reason why costs are overrunning on the one that they're filming right now and everything. So that would have been a great idea. Now, I believe what the counterpoint to that was like, oh no, it was just a get to know you meeting and everything. But a lot of people seem to think that no, it was like they were intentionally skirting people who were in charge of the DCU at the time to try to get their own foot in the door and everything. Let's see. Variety reported also with an insider saying Johnson's demands, including having his brand of tequila served at a premiere of Black Adam, increased and the returns just weren't there. Um,
Trying to plug his own stuff. I mean, I get it,
yeah,
but
but yeah, he's also doing this at the expense of other things. Supposedly, also, this is what I heard on Cornette's podcast, and they were going over the full story from the Wrap. This isn't in the Yahoo article that I sent to you guys earlier today. At least I don't think it is.
okay.
He supposedly tacked on filming a promo ad for the UFL onto like a day's production of one of the more recent movies, meaning that he was getting the movie production to foot the bill for it. You know, which
Gotcha.
not really something you should be doing.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
So he's just and then so what did all this lead to? So his brand has been taking a few hits, no matter what anybody thinks. And in this article that I sent to you guys, they were quoting some crisis PR guy saying, "Oh, he's built up enough goodwill that this isn't really going to hurt him that much." And I'm saying, is it though? Because it only takes a few flops for you to go. And he's got a few flops on his hands recently. Jungle Cruise, I don't think, did overwhelming box office, even though they're supposedly doing a sequel to it.
Hollywood will kick you when you're down.
Yeah,
100%.
I know he's got other projects, but other than like the last couple of Fast movies that he was in and the Jumanji movies, I don't know where he's had a lot of bona fide box office smashes lately. I don't think Skyscraper did great. I don't think
No.
Rampage did great.
Nope.
We know Black Adam is pretty much considered a bomb. So
Well, look at the cast of Jumanji too. That cast was, if you want to talk about like, if you want to say star-studded, you could say star-studded because it did have Kevin Hart, it did have Jack Black. The only person that I did not know from that movie was the redhead.
Well, that's
And now
Karen
I know who
Gillan,
she
was-
is,
yeah,
which I
that's
can't
Karen
think of her
Gillan,
name
who
off the
was
top of my
Doctor
head, but I know
Who
who she
and
is.
in Guardians of the Galaxy and everything. So yeah. So, and they're always talking about how he's got all these videos of him doing charitable stuff and having these spontaneous encounters with regular people out in
But he
public.
also took a hit. Him and Oprah Winfrey also took a hit with the crisis relief
Yeah.
stuff
Thank you, I
because
forgot.
Yeah, Hawaii.
I meant to mention that and I forgot to. Yeah, they were getting
Yep.
criticized for telling people to donate to like the the Hawaiian relief efforts and everything, and everybody's like, "Oh, what did you donate?" And it was like,
yeah, both of them were like backtracking on that one.
yeah,
They both have a shit ton of money to donate. There's no reason why they couldn't.
right. And it's like I'm not normally averse, of course, to people of celebrity lending their celebrity to try to help others, getting people to donate, but it's also at the same time, it's like, yeah, what are you donating to this?
Put your
Yeah,
money where your
they're not
mouth-
Sally
I'll-
Struthers
I'll-
back in the late '80s trying to raise money for kids in Ethiopia or
Yeah.
whatever that was. I forget
Yeah,
what
but
that-
it's like also it's just very much of the it's like, okay, that's great that you're trying to get people to help out and everything. What are you doing to help? But about like all like the stuff you see with him doing charity and these fan encounters, notice how there's always a camera there.
Well, yeah, he films so much of his life. There's pretty much nothing that's not filmed. I mean, he films his interactions with his young children. He films
yeah.
himself he films himself working out. He's got videos of himself and pictures of himself in the octagon doing whatever
Yeah.
kind of training he's doing with MMA.
Oh, it's
Like-
for his new movie.
Yeah, he's filming a movie about.
He's training for another movie. It has to do with MMA. It's based off a real life situation, I think.
So
But,
it's just
so what I'm
there's
saying
always a
is
camera
that,
in his face.
like his persona is very calculated. It's very crafted.
Yep, show you the best parts of my life.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is he's a phony, a big fat phony. Here's the thing about all this time you see him doing like this charitable stuff and everything. I think I may have mentioned this once before. George Steinbrenner years ago said, if you do something for somebody else and more than two people know about it, you did it for the wrong reasons.
Well,
And
look,
again,
think
I
about
normally
this,
don't
too.
have problems with say like, well, I want to promote a cause, or I want like the Yankees do this like Hope Week thing every year where they're doing like nice things for like groups and people and stuff like that. And a lot of times I think, well, that provides like some publicity, for some free publicity for those groups. I don't really mind something like that too much. But when he's like, I'm The Rock, and when I bought a car for this person, I gave it to him, but I'm filming the whole thing. Obviously, he's making sure that he's getting all that goodwill from it and everything. So this all also kind of ties into his return to wrestling this year, because he thought he was going to be the babyface,
Yep.
and everybody came in and they started booing him. And so they, thank God, rightfully pivoted. And some of the stuff that he did was pretty good. Some of the stuff he did was pretty fucking cringe. All right.
Oh, he used cringe.
And we
It's
don't know where
cringeworthy.
this is going to go to or lead to. I saw something yesterday. Wait, was it yesterday or was it today? Let me pull this up real quick, because this really infuriated me.
Uh-oh.
By WrestleMania, he'll have himself back in the picture for
Well, yeah.
sure.
This
And-
week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, so take that with a grain of salt,
Oh, well, of course.
it says
You know where that's
Cody
coming
versus The Rock is currently scheduled for WrestleMania 41 next year.
And that would not surprise me if that's a possibility on the table.
Dwayne's idea is to make it the WWE Championship versus the People's Championship, although it's not a lock that Cody will still be the WWE Champion at that time.
That is freaking lame. That would
Dwayne,
be lame.
Nobody
as
gives
hell.
a shit about this custom belt you had made that you made Muhammad Ali's widow bestow upon you. Literally, nobody fucking cares.
Except for him.
Exactly.
Muhammad Ali. gave
How
him
is
his belt. No,
that?
he didn't.
How is that a selling point for that match? Jesus.
It's
It's
not.
because he bestowed the title of Cody being the people's champ. You are truly the people's
You know,
champ.
Oh yeah.
when that
So
when that
that's the tie-in, baby. There's the tie-in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
but when that belt was created, and the way he's using it, it kind of reminds me how UFC created the BMF title. And there was an actual fight between two guys a couple years ago for the BMF title, which stands for baddest motherfucker. And yes, Pat. So it kind of like resonates with me that it's a very similar to that, where you have the People's Championship title and you're going to use that as a prop. So I feel like they're also kind of doing this in the manner of the FTW.
Which is a meaningless bullshit title.
Correct. So they're doing the same concept of what AEW is doing right now with the FTW title, trying to make it relevant. I don't know. There's similarities between all three of those belts, to be honest with you, and how they're being used. So we're just gonna add. Good job. We're gonna add to that. Yeah, glorious times. Not a fan of that. If that's really what they're gonna use, like wear your belt, bro. Don't really care. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm all about wrestlers being part of, that want to continue to be part of the wrestling industry in whatever shape, whatever fashion they want to be, as long as it doesn't take away from the product and the push of guys that are on the roster. When you start pushing yourself to essentially keep yourself within the limelight of the industry, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
For me personally, and not that my personal problems matter to anybody, but
Yeah,
it's
I
like
don't really care about your problems.
I know nobody does, but
I don't care about your problems, your issues. Yeah. Some of the like, Jake the Snake talked about Ultimate Warrior years ago. He said that's what Warrior said to him.
It's one of those things where if somebody would have done that when they were in the wrestling industry in their prime, they would have had a huge problem with it. So why would you want to do that to somebody now, take away from their opportunity to shine, unless you're going in there to put them over and make them shine? Like, that would be the only reason that The Rock should be in the ring. He doesn't need to do that for Cody. Cody's shining enough on his own. He does not need an extra shine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's remember, of course, too, that one of the things that he was saying all through this whole process was, "Oh, wrestling's cool again because I came back."
Yeah, no.
I don't think that was just the character.
I think that was him being real.
I think that's what he legitimately thought.
Yeah, it wasn't, dude. It was cool before you came back.
Yeah.
You just added another layer to it, but it wasn't because of you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go on this rant here too again. It's like some of the stuff had already been pretty much known, especially like the Black Adam catastrophe and everything. So I still won't understand why at this point where his star was definitely, maybe it's still, and Young Rock gets canceled. Let's throw that in there too. And that show
that was so beyond.
And those ratings started to tank hardcore.
Yeah, and let's be honest,
and
it wasn't
ratings matter,
accurate
people.
to his actual career either.
Oh yeah, and let's be
so
honest, that show was so fucking lame. So
I felt bad for the guy that was portraying The Rock. Like, I was like, oh man, you got to do this shitty show right now.
so all this stuff is happening, and again, so his star is definitely starting to decline and everything. And at that moment, he comes back to WWE, and for whatever reason, WWE gives him $50 million, a seat on the board, access to all of his trademarks and everything, so that he doesn't have to like clear it with anybody or have to get like producer credits for everybody. Why? Were they so desperate for his star power? I'll still never understand this. Did he help at WrestleMania? I'm sure he did. But I think WrestleMania would have been okay without him too. So I don't understand.
100% enjoyed WrestleMania just as much if we didn't have that match on.
WrestleMania was already sold out for the WrestleMania sold enough tickets before Rock.
I was going to say, somebody keeps telling me WrestleMania wasn't a sellout, so.
Yeah, I mean, what I was just saying, like, there was enough
Who's
tickets.
telling you that? Who's being a liar?
Enough tickets were sold before The Rock decided to show his face back.
Well, that's what I meant too. It's like, no, but when the tickets went on sale and everything, especially when we were trying to get tickets, we didn't fucking know Rock was going to be there,
No.
you know? But so again, yeah, he comes back, and then what are some of the initial things that we get in addition to him inserting himself into the main event picture? His fucking daughter is the GM of NXT. And I don't normally watch NXT, but last week I think it was.
You stumbled, fell, and hit the remote, and it turned it on. Ugh.
No, it was
Sorry.
definitely last week because the Rangers would have been on this past Tuesday. I turned on a segment of NXT. It was right before I think 9:00, and she was in the ring, and she was talking about how they were going to be doing something or other, and like all the different like female wrestlers came out to say stuff. But after she like said her spiel, where she definitely talks way too much with her hands. Her hands are constantly moving as she was saying everything.
Hey, that's an Italian and Greek and European thing. Watch yourself there.
Like I said, she was doing it too much. I'm not saying talking with your hands is a
Brother.
bad thing, but you got to know when to cut it out.
Watch yourself.
But then as each additional woman comes down to the ring, some came from the ramp, some came from the crowd, or it was just weird. And they all take over and say their little like 30-second spiels on the mic and everything. She's standing there in the ring the whole time. And she's just standing there with this look on her face the whole time. It's kind of like,
She looked like she had to go poop.
no, she just looks dumb. She looks awkward. She looks out of place. She looks like she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
I don't know. Shawn Michaels thinks she's doing a great job.
No. So anyway, so we get her as the GM of NXT.
Shawn
and we
Michaels
get
is
his
married. Right?
and we get his grandmother inducted
Okay.
into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's
I
a
still
coincidence.
don't understand his grandmother getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
It's because he asked, he demanded it. That's why.
like
And Brian, and this was one of the funny things when Cornette and Brian Last were talking about it. Brian Last said, "So next year is Hiram Garcia going to get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?"
who?
His ex-brother-in-law, who runs his production company.
Oh, he did 10 vignettes back in the 1990s.
Well, that's the other thing too. Again, it's like, like I said, when the Rock's persona being like, so carefully crafted and calculated and everything. Remember Brian Gewirtz, who used to be like the head writer on Raw for years, went and left WWE to go work for him and become more or less his like personal writer.
Yeah.
Like another way you could probably term that is his personal bitch.
Pretty much.
So it's just like, so my main point in bringing all this up is that
Yeah,
so
get on with it.
The floodgates are starting to open about this and everything. And I don't care what these PR people think. This is going to have a backlash. There already is one. The way we know that is because of the way the wrestling audience turned on them.
Yeah. Pretty
And
much.
the wrestling audience is a more loyal audience than the general movie ticket buying public is. So if this movie, when it comes out for Christmas release this year, if it tanks hard, he's going to be in some fucking trouble. And watch how quickly he goes crawling back to wrestling then if that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've already got the seeds planted for that and everything. But the other point I'm trying to make them with this too is because those Vin Diesel stories were out there from before, and because the Black Adam story was out there when it happened, when the movie fell on its face, and now all this stuff's coming out about another production that he's apparently fucking up in some ways and everything. This isn't going to be the end of that either. The floodgates are open. You're going to see more stories come out about, oh yeah, when I worked with The Rock on such and such, he was he kept us waiting for 8 hours.
And it'll be all the people that are not like Ryan Reynolds. You'll probably never hear him say anything.
No, you won't.
It'll be all the other people that are like that level below.
It's always
that have nothing to lose.
Right. It's always going to be unnamed sources and everything like that. And what I really hate about the age in which we live now with the media, when people see articles about unnamed sources, they've become accustomed now to saying that, oh, that means it's made up. That means that they're just making this shit up. It's like, no, not actually, because the media still has some pretty strict rules that they're supposed to follow. It's like, even if they're citing unnamed sources, they have to get 2 or 3 confirmations before they can really go ahead and feel good about publishing it from a legal standpoint, because if they want to publish something from an unnamed source and it was totally made up, and a person sued them for what was saying and they couldn't prove where they got the information from, they'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Okay. So just
No,
because
the
it's
only
an
ones you can say
unnamed-
that about are the ones that are on like Twitter and stuff like that. These these
Plus, these unnamed
media
sources,
people that are not attached to actual like media companies.
and some of these unnamed sources still want to keep their jobs. They don't want to be blackballed by other productions and stuff
Yeah.
like that within the
So,
business.
so that's it. That's why they're speaking out as unnamed sources, because if Joe Schmidt goes and says, "Yeah, I had to take care of the Rock's piss bottles, and it was degrading and humiliating," Rock's people will probably make sure Joe Schmidt doesn't fucking work on another movie. You know, that's
Yeah.
the way it works. There's always retaliation and retribution,
It's
whether it's,
Hollywood.
whether it's deserved or not. And of course, in something like that, it's not fucking deserved, because fuck you, go piss in the goddamn porta potty like everybody else does, motherfucker.
And it's one of the things with him too. Like, I think, has he done well for himself? Yes, he has a very successful tequila company, a tequila brand out there. He has a pretty successful energy drink that's out there. So, he's doing well in those two aspects. I forget who he's a sponsor for other marketing things. What, Acorn, and there's some other brand as well. But
Well, he was the host of that Titans show. That's no longer there.
Yeah,
That went
there
off
was-
the air after
I don't-
2 quick seasons.
trying to think of his sponsors though, like something
XFL.
else.
I don't think
Yeah.
he's doing very well.
I watch it.
It's the UFL now, remember?
Yeah,
Oh, yes, the UFL.
I think I watch it. It's fun. I just like football in general. So I mean, I do watch the games, but I think the viewership has been pretty. I have to pull up the page for it that tracks it, but I think the viewership is pretty good right
so
now.
You're,
Yeah.
I'll be back, gentlemen.
Okay.
so you're damn, I forgot what I was gonna say now. It's all his fault because he interrupted me.
My hair's looking beautiful tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Joe, your hair always looks beautiful.
I try. What
Anyway.
I get? I try.
No, now I did fucking forget. Oh my god. What were we talking about? We're talking about the UFL.
Yes.
Oh, I said, okay, you saying you just like football. Okay. So you're John Madden in like the first episode of Family Guy, where it's like him and Pat Summerall are like calling the Super Bowl, and he's just like, going on around like, football, and Pat's like, we're at a commercial, John. I know, just
Football.
He's like, I know, just making conversation.
Oh, speaking of
Football.
yes. Speaking of football, I mean, I'm going to buy it when it comes out. 1000%. Don't give a fuck. But they just released the cover for NCAA Football 25, they were calling it.
Yeah, I did see it, and I think
And there's some.
I think my first thought was, those are the people they put on the cover.
Listen. Hey, it is what it is. Don't care. I also heard that they might do for the physical copies that will be coming out for like Xbox X and PS5, that you can get like downloadable covers to like insert for your favorite teams and shit like that they used to do in the past. So I've kind of heard a rumor about that, but nonetheless, what's his name? Was it Herbstreak or the other guy? I forget. Just finished 125 hours worth of voice recording that he just finished the other week.
Well,
It took him 2 years.
The last NCAA game I had was 2003 for the PS2. The one that had Joey Harrington on the cover for you fanatics out there.
Which one did I have? What was the last one I had?
But
I
one of
think
the things, one of the things I loved about that game was the commentary between Brad Nessler, Lee Corso, and Kirk Herbstreit. I remember in like the behind the scenes thing, they had mentioned how Nessler recorded his dialogue alone, and Corso and Herbstreit recorded theirs together. And you could tell because Corso and Herb, I mean, it never really sounded like they weren't all like conceivably there, but Corso and Herbstreit had a little bit more interactivity than with Nessler,
Yeah.
But obviously, when you start playing that game you're going to hear the same damn comments over and over
Yes.
again.
think I had the
So
second.
hopefully,
to
maybe they
last-
have less of that. If he's recording 125 hours of fucking
Yes.
voiceover.
Yes, he had ton. I think I had the second to last NCAA football game. I think that's the one I had. Trying to remember. I had to Google it. But yeah, I'm excited. I remember when I used to do a create a player in that, and I would create myself as a quarterback for the University of Illinois. And then was come time I can like enter myself in the NFL draft. And then you can you could put yourself, you can save the file, and then you can go into Madden and you can load that file. And that would be all the college players for that specific NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to get it where I would like make my Bears tank or like force a trade to get in the top 5 and draft myself to the Bears. It was so much fun. Like that was cool shit to do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that was one of my favorite parts too about that game because I had, so like I said, I had NCAA football, it was 2003, and I had the Madden game from that year too. And it was really fun to always import the draft classes and, see where guys went. And then, of course, that was when, so that would have been like Eli Manning's senior year in college, 2003, for that game. Well, I mean, I was about football 2003, but it was the 2002 season, so it would have been Eli Manning's junior year in college. Yeah. I think about that for a second. I remember like I tried to like name all the players who were on the existing teams, and like I found some like roster lists, and some of them weren't complete, unfortunately. There was two things I noticed. One, it was kind of cool that like when you're entering the names, if it was a name that was like programmed into the game, they'd start saying the guy's name, like Manning back to pass.
Yep.
Didn't always work, of course, because if it was a name that they didn't recycle, then it just didn't work. The other thing that I find funny about when I've like gone back to that game, sometimes in the last 5 years or so, I've had a couple fits where I've like gone back and played it extensively and shit. I always find it funny how like the names are very vanilla. Like the names weren't creative. Like they
No.
didn't anticipate some of the names that you've seen come up. And I'm not trying to like criticize like names and stuff because it could get taken the wrong way if I did.
Very
But
true.
they just didn't know how to predict names, so, and I'm talking really more first names here than last names, of course. So
Yeah, of course.
so it's like it got kind of vanilla and everything, but I was like seeing how where guys went and everything. And of course, I remember when I first plugged the names in, I couldn't remember at the time, the very first time I did this, and this would have been back at when the game was new. I couldn't remember what Eli Manning's first name was, so I just named him Manning and then give him a first name, and I forgot to ever go back in and put it back in. So like when I imported the classes in Madden, he was there. There was no Eli though, so it just had Manning, so it was kind of funny. And of course, he of course very famously, same draft class, he had Rivers and Roethlisberger. I don't think either one of those guys made it into Madden based upon their stats from the NCAA game. Roethlisberger, I know didn't. I don't think Rivers did either. So that's always kind of interesting too.
That's
some other
funny.
guys were like big players and everything. One of the other things I always like to do was I did it a couple times. One time I didn't really quite finish it all the way. I started a creative school. And
Yes.
I the first time I did it, I had them take the place of Utah State because Utah State was still an independent.
Okay.
But I know I don't know because you had to replace a school. You couldn't just add a school.
I know. I did the same thing. I created a school and I got rid of an independent because
Right.
it seemed to be easier.
So, being the wild and crazy guy that I am, I created a school called Crazy Go Nuts University, which is a Homestar Runner universe reference. Called the Crazy Go Nuts University Dumples. And I created the most gaudy looking outlandish uniforms that were like this like very bad combination of red and green, almost look kind of Christmas tree-esque.
Oh my
Ooh.
God.
But so in addition to making them an independent, so they didn't have any conference ties or anything, and I also gave them like bad players to start with, I made them an independent in Rhode Island.
Ooh. Good
that's
market
going to make
shares.
so that's going to make recruiting harder. I mean, the whole thing was I didn't play; I was just simulating. So the first season, when you don't have a lot of good players, you have a couple that are like, yeah, but they're hardly elite. Your
Yeah.
team's going to win maybe 3, maybe 4 games if you're lucky. But then those semi-decent players, they're all going to be gone right away. You only have them for 1 year. And then you got some real shit players. And you're going to have a couple of years of 1 and 2 win seasons. But you got to schedule carefully. You got to schedule other bad teams. Maybe schedule a couple decent teams, but don't go nuts because you're just going to get killed. And the trick is to see how quickly you can become a competitive team. And then start making bowl games and everything like that. And eventually, you can become a perennial powerhouse, and you'll start getting better recruits, even though you're in fucking Rhode Island. But
should have put him in Alaska.
Yeah, that might have been worse. Yeah, but so one thing that I was like doing was then like exporting like those draft classes to Madden just to see how many of my players would get there. And the thing that always baffled me, when you had to create a school and then you import it into Madden, and then you're going through like the draft scouting process in Madden, right? And it shows you like, their the guy's name and their measurables in the school they went to. So it's like, Oklahoma, Penn State, Michigan, Stanford, NA. What?
I
It couldn't interpret the name of your school. So it would always just say NA for their college. That's how you knew it was the guy from your school, because it said NA instead of whatever crazy go nuts name you gave. And that always mystified me, because I'm saying, like, the name of the school was in this game where it came from. How does it not able to just interpret those letters? Because that's all it's got to be doing for those schools that are real. So
it's pretty much.
I never quite got that. So it always kind of annoyed me a little bit when I'm like going through to see, like, oh look, there's my first player who's ever made has ever made it into the Madden draft process. Why is this school NA?
That was fun though. That was like the fun stuff to do.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope they bring some of that shit back in the new game.
I would definitely hope so. I mean, here's the thing. They're bringing the game back.
I'm buying it nonetheless, but still.
Yeah, they're bringing the game back, and they have to have like the ability to export the draft classes to Madden and stuff like that again. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Well, okay, we know why.
Because we're Madden, and we can do that.
It's going to be...
I know they're not Madden. I know they're not Madden.
The why is this.
Yeah, the moolah. But...
especially since they have to pay these kids to let them be in the game.
Hey,
all they got to do is change them just enough so that they don't have to give them the same number. They can make them like slightly different, and they don't have to give them a name. Number 22 with the carry.
Well, what was it? It was only, what was it, like Arch Manning is the only one who's kind of publicly come out and said he didn't agree to it? I think
so, yeah.
So, I mean, they're not exactly getting a lot for lending their name to the game anyway. What was it, like a couple $100 and a copy of the game?
Nice.
So still get a couple $100 total value, so because the game's like what, $50-$60,
Well, and if you think about it, with the amount of people that are in college, how much can they really give them per individual? That's
they could probably make it work.
Well,
yeah, they definitely could.
I don't know.
Besides the amount of money they got, they should get like at least 5% residuals from that game. Why not?
5% of what though?
The sales for that game.
So
until that game doesn't sell out anymore.
But then you got to divide that 5% between however many players, like Jeremy was saying. So
whatever players signed up,
it would be a situation.
Sweet, I got $14 in the mail today. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be like this past week. Paul O'Neill was talking about the episode of Seinfeld that he started, and he says that he still gets checks for like $57 when like the episode airs.
Hey, it's something, right?
Yeah, but he was still just kind of laughing about how it's like, oh yeah, it's a fun reminder and everything, but yeah, it's like it's $57. So
It's there's a guy, the the actor that played in Peter Pan, Rufio. Was that the character's name? I think it was the
you
Peter
talking
Pan
about?
movie.
Are you talking about Hook?
No, 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 no. Oh
Oh,
yeah, Hook. Yeah, Hook.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
it
because
was Hook.
I didn't know any other movie where the character Rufio appeared other than Spielberg's Hook.
Yeah, it was Hook. The guy that played that character and all the other characters, he's been in a bunch of movies like over the years and stuff like that. Um,
Has he?
he has a um an account that I came across the one day, and he does that. He's like, "All right, got my 18 residual checks in the mail. Let's see what kind of dinner we're having today based on the the checks." Like he'll go through it. He'll be like, "Oh, having steak tonight or lobster tonight." He's like, "Ooh, Taco Bell night," you know. But yeah, depending on what the movie was and how popular it was, and in that some of the residual checks that these people get are pretty decent, and sometimes they're shit, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, since I just mentioned Seinfeld, I'll talk about the Paul O'Neill thing. There was an episode of Seinfeld that dealt with that too, where there was an episode where one of the plot lines was Jerry was getting checks for like 38 cents because some Japanese show used like a 2-second clip of one of his stand-up routines. And he found it a nuisance because he had to sign all the checks in order to deposit them. And he was getting like writer's cramp from signing so many of these basically worthless checks.
Get a stamper.
38 cents,
Boom,
baby.
boom, boom. Easy peasy.
Now, of course, today the funny thing about that is that, they'd probably just like, well, they would definitely just send it like electronically somehow. They wouldn't be sending live checks for somebody to sign, especially when it's that small an amount. But yeah, I thought that was funny.
Very true.
Well, yeah, and you think about the residuals that Jerry Seinfeld and those actors get from that show being continuously aired, and that they probably be, not that they need it, but I'm sure they get a pretty nice check every so often.
Yeah, they probably, they get something good out of it. Certainly. It's always good.
I mean, the guy that played Kramer, probably, I haven't seen him in his show. He fell as soon as that show was over. He was like done. You never saw him in another thing or heard about him since.
Well, no, he had a failed sitcom of his own, which
Yes.
Oh, that's right. He did have one called Kramer, didn't he? It was called
no,
Kramer.
it was the Michael Richards show. He wasn't playing he wasn't playing Kramer anymore, though the character was described as Kramer-esque. I remember that they also like vastly changed it when it was still being made because of like bad test screenings and stuff. But no, he had a whole thing where he was using racial slurs during a stand-up set where he was
I
being
remember.
heckled some years ago, and that's pretty much what ended his career.
Yeah, because didn't he make a reference to certain people hanging from a tree or some shit like that? I think that was
He
in
was
one of
being
his.
heckled by a couple of African American guys, and he lost his cool completely. And he said something like 40 years ago, you'd be something about hanging. I don't remember who said hanging, but something about like they had like forks stuck in their ass or something. It was really bizarre because it was like it didn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense other than that he was just getting really ugly because he was being heckled. Just I don't know.
Wow, pitchforks. All right. There we go.
I'm not even sure if he meant pitchforks.
I don't know.
He might have meant forks, dinner
Listen.
forks. So
Yeah, I don't know. It was. I remember hearing about that, and I remember seeing the not. Oh, geez. I just remember seeing the video clip of that when that happened. I was just like, well, that's a good look for not me. But yeah, craziness. Absolute craziness. So yeah, I had to step away to put my son to bed. He is
isn't he old enough
sleepy.
to do that himself now?
He is sleepy. He's funny. He was playing. He went out from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock. He was outside playing. He was at a birthday party from 1 to 4, and then I picked him up, came back, and he played outside until he, came in for dinner. Very late dinner. But he had his dinner. He fell asleep at the table. I went to pick him up to take him up to bed. He's like, "No, I'm not going up. I'm not going up. I'm not asleep." I said, "Dude, you're sleeping at the table." He's like, "No, I wasn't." I
Like,
said,
yes, you
"Buddy."
were.
I said, "Yes, you were." He's like, "No, I wasn't." I said, "Okay, then what was happening in the show that you were watching?" He's like, "I don't know." I said, "Exactly, because you were sleeping." He's like, "No, I wasn't." Like, okay, buddy, you weren't sleeping. So it was funny. He is a ham sandwich,
Mm.
which I almost made myself a grilled ham and cheese for dinner today, but I chose to eat some of my other leftovers. So I had some salmon. Salmon.
That's a bit of a switch.
Yeah, I know. I looked in the fridge and I said, "You know what? I really should eat these leftovers before they completely spoil." So
But
they were on the, I don't know if they were on the verge of spoiling, but I was just like, they're still safe to eat. Nothing smells funny and nothing's got green stuff growing on it, so it's all safe.
Not slimy. Got it.
Yeah. That happened to our bread because, with the wonderful hot and cold weather, our bread got moldy. Fantastic. So
what's this?
2 loaves of bread half loaves of bread down the hole.
No, that sucks. I
Yeah.
don't know, Pat. What is this? What do you see?
The Roxy is shifting its business model.
What?
The Roxy in Northampton?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, they're gonna start showing burlesque shows?
Oh, God.
No, they're gonna start showing like first run movies instead of second run movies.
I noticed that. They had, what the hell did they just have in? That wasn't that old. I feel like it was still in some
Well,
of
it
the
was
main
mentioning
theaters.
that they were showing Dune Part 2 very recently, and I guess
Yes, that's what it was.
now they're showing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which just came out this week, of course.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It says the owner said that it's the only way to keep it in the spotlight as COVID was catastrophic for second run theaters as many mainstream movies moved, saying they're often out and streaming within 3 to 4 weeks after their release. That's true to an extent. That is
Depending on how well the
run
movie
a
does.
movie, so we're in competition all the time with people being able to watch at home on their TV while we're playing it here in the theater. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that. I mean, the thing is too, a lot of movies still, it's like they could say, oh, they're out streaming within 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they'll be available. Like let's say if you have a subscription streaming service.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, it's still like, it's available to stream, but you have to like rent it through one of the various services and pay like $20, and it's like I'm not paying $20 to watch a movie at home.
Yeah, it just
No.
depends on how well the movie did. If it was a flop in
Yeah.
the theaters, it'll be out sooner on streaming and available for free. If it was a good movie, it gets released later, and usually you have to pay for it.
Well, it still varies, and I don't really know how or why it varies because so at the end of, well, this isn't a great example anymore. I was gonna say at the end of last year, the Michael Mann directed movie Ferrari came out, starring Adam Driver, and that didn't do especially well at the box office. The last time I checked, though, to rent it, it was still like $19.99. Now it's down to like $5.99, but it's like I know this movie is going to eventually come to one of these streaming services that I have a subscription to.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to wait for that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to pay $20
Roxy's-
to rent a movie at home. It's like I have a nice TV and everything, but if I'm going to pay $20 to watch a movie, I'm going to go see it on a large fucking screen.
as long as the Roxy's not going to raise their prices too much, they'll be okay. That was always the attraction to me for the Roxy, is the fact that you could go see a movie that you wanted to see in the theater at a theater for $4 now.
It says that their first run movie price is still going to, well, I don't know, still, but it's going to be $5, which is still, as it says, well below multi-screen theater.
So they're raising it $1.
Multiplexes. That's what they're called.
So they're raising it $1
Multiplexes.
because it was at $4. They just raised it like last year, I think, to $4 from $3. So,
Concessions are going to be 25 cents more though.
so yeah, so they're raising it $1 to be able to see a first run movie.
I mean, that's not huge. Again, I have
No,
not been to that
that's nothing.
theater in so many years.
It hasn't changed
I can't.
in 40
well, that's
years.
just- I can't even remember the last time one time I think I want to feel like going there just to remember like what it was again. But my biggest concern, of course, is that it's not going to be comfortable for somebody of my size anymore.
They actually have nice seats.
I know. I'm just also so used to stadium screens and everything now.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It's definitely more comfortable than the seats at the Link. So, because they got cushions on them. They're
They,
about the same
skip it.
width, but they at least got cushions. So,
Always a good thing.
but yeah, no, I think it'll help them with bringing people in because if people can go see a first run movie that they really wanted to see for $5, you're gonna get people in there, like no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I can honestly say the Roxy their business definitely has gone down since COVID because you used to be able to drive by like when a Marvel movie was released there or any like big movie that came out and people were like, oh, I can't wait to, I'll wait until it comes to the Roxy because I know they're gonna have it at the Roxy. This is too good of a movie. They would have a line down the sidewalk, and now you might occasionally see it, but it's not a long line. It's like 5-6 people long, where, when they were getting the Marvel movies in prior to COVID, you'd have a line down the road to like, I want to say Santa Fe, the Santa Fe taco place, which is a couple buildings down, couple businesses down, So
Yeah,
it's-
the days of those crazy movie lines and all that shit's, that's gone.
yeah, there
For
was.
sure.
I can say the couple times that we've gone, and we always went for the kids movies, and that was the big draw. Like over the summer, they always did kids movies because kids are out of school, bring in the kids movies, make sure that parents have something to do with their kids, and it was not packed the last time we were in there. Like there was a good amount of people there, but it definitely was not packed like the other times we had taken the kids there. So they were definitely starting to lose business, and being a one theater place, it's tough. Like,
Yeah.
and like I said,
Definitely.
they haven't updated that place in 40 years or
Yeah,
more.
see, that's not good either.
It's still the old. It's like walking into what would be an old time like opera house, like the walls and the and stuff like that. It's all like still set up like that with the stage and the music pit and everything still
Oh,
there.
yeah, I don't know if the term directly works, but it's what they used to refer to as movie palaces.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what they used to call like the theaters when they were like that and everything. Where like they looked like they could also be used for other things, So
Yeah, and they have had people rent that place out. They get married there. There's been concerts there, not as very often, but a couple times. I think they actually did a play there not too long ago, like an actual play. So it just depends, but they also keep very weird hours. Like they're only open like 3 days a week. Like I think it's Mondays, Wednesdays or Thursdays, and then Saturdays.
Hmm.
So they're
Wait, what
Yeah.
what days did you say again?
I think it was Monday. I think they're open on Mondays, and then they do either Wednesday or Thursday, and then a Saturday.
Interesting they don't do like Friday nights or Sunday, of course.
And they
But-
might change that with the fact that they'll do first run movies.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
Wednesday and Saturday too, of course, back in the day, and I mean way back in the day now. Wednesday and no, I'm being serious though. Wednesday
You were
and
just a
Saturday-
little gigolo. Gotcha.
just a little gigolo.
Back in the day. No, it's a song. Don't you said back in the day.
Wednesday,
It's
Wednesday,
a song,
and-
little gigolo. Go ahead.
Wednesday and Saturdays were always like matinee days, and that had to do more with like Broadway than with movies, but I think that did carry over into movies when movies started becoming a thing too. But that is kind of interesting that they're still kind of sort of doing it like that.
Well, yeah, and they would run on Saturdays. They run two shows: a 1 o'clock show and a 7 o'clock show.
Mm-hmm.
So their matinee show and then their late night show.
Well, see, that's the thing is because it's like in this day and age, especially now, it's like I can't imagine who's going to go to a movie there at 1 o'clock on a weekday afternoon, unless it was Friday. So
Yeah, it works out. Like I said, over the summer that works out well for them because they got
yeah, during the
parents
summer,
that are-
yeah, that makes sense, of course, because kids are out of school. But during the non-summer months,
get the parents that are like, okay, we're gonna take a half day today, buddy, and we're gonna go to the movies and we're gonna see Trolls 2.
let's all go to the movies. Let's all
Oh
go
my
to
god! And
the
they still to this day, they've been showing it for I can't even tell you how long. The
Well, that's something
scene-
else that's in this article here. It says he adds the cartoons and the Mrs. Manners segment will stay prior to the showings.
Yes, the Mrs. Manners video. It's so creepy.
Mrs. Manners video.
Yes, it's a late. It's I don't want to
don't
say
know this.
old. I don't want to say it's an old lady. I gotta see if I can find the Mrs. Manners. I gotta look it up now.
I do not know what this video is.
Oh, it is creepy as hell.
I'm curious. I'm intrigued. I need to know. I need to see
Do
this.
you? Are you sure you want to know?
I want to know. Wondering minds want to know. Curiosity may kill me, but pleasure brought me back, so it's all good. And I got 9 lives, 7 left, so it's okay.
Let me see if I can find it.
Chop, chop, good sir. I'd like to see this before I have to go
Before
to
you
the
fall over
poopers.
dead. All right, it's
Go
not
my
gonna be
next
on
poop.
YouTube. All right, gotta go here. Not, I don't want that. Close that. All right.
Did anybody? Oh no, Pat, you were watching hockey, so you were not paying attention to anything wrestling because I was not paying attention to anything wrestling worthy tonight either.
I
was-
did
I
not.
was not in the mood for wrestling for whatever reason.
I didn't even watch SmackDown last night. So because when I got home yesterday, I was kind of like just kind of exhausted, and then because the weather was shit yesterday up here, it's gonna be shit tomorrow. I was like cold, so I had to get like under the cover in my bed. So I fell asleep for a little while, and I was like, when I woke up, I think SmackDown was like half over, and I think I was just like, fuck this. So, and I think especially also when I did turn SmackDown on, who did I see coming down to the ring but Baron Corbin,
Oh Lord.
Oh, good.
who appeared to be slapping hands with fans too, which I'm like, isn't he still a heel?
Listen, for as much as people don't like that guy for multiple reasons, he is 1000% a company guy.
Oh no, I wasn't even blaming on that. It was just like my whole thing was like, first of all, I don't understand why he's slapping hands because I thought he was a heel. But I said, whoever he's wrestling, I'm sure he's going to lose. So it's like, that's not like oh, he was wrestling Carmelo Hayes. I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely not losing to Carmelo Hayes.
No.
They would have given Carmelo Hayes one loss here on the main roster because it was against Cody, so they're not going to have him lose to Corbin, you know?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm not finding it.
You're still searching the good old
Yeah,
internet for all
I
that
cannot
video.
find it. I'm probably not using the right search criteria to like narrow it down enough. But I did search by the Roxy's Miss Manners. But
Is it like some old lady or something?
it is.
And she telling you, make sure you turn your phones off and don't be
She's
loud
making-
in the theater.
She's making a cake the whole time. And she's like throwing the eggshells and everything in the batter as she's whipping up this cake batter. And she's licking her lip. It's just creepy as all freaking hell. I wish I could find it for you, Joe.
She's
Ugh.
licking her lips. I'm going to come to the screen and give you a BJ of your liking.
I don't know. She's just like, oh, what does she say at the one? She's like, "You gonna have popcorn and candy and soda? Yum!" Mm. She's like, "But don't forget to throw it away." it's not your house. I'm like, okay, no problem. Yeah, yeah, it's creepy. It's a little weird. So I wish they would get rid of it. I'm not gonna lie. Let's all go to the movies though. That's a classic, concession stands, thing. I think they still do that at Becky's Drive-In too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the let's all go to the movies. The dancing candy and popcorn and soda.
No, that's fun old school stuff.
Yeah.
Right there. Let's get her done.
Yeah, I'm not finding it. Yeah, maybe I'll find it some other time.
That's fine. You're off the hook this time.
Okay.
Patrick, you look very intensely staring at a screens off to your left.
I just found a post on Facebook that amused me. I had to make a comment on it. Let's see if
Oh, of course. Here we
No,
go, Jeremy.
it-
He
it-
is
it-
going to start his arguments on his Facebook
It's
right now.
it's an item from a Facebook group called the Pro Wrestling World.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Lord.
And they
Let's get
post-
It's over.
give it to us.
It's over before it started with that title.
I know they posted a thing within quotes, which they said was taken from a comment on another post that said AEW is WWE's retirement home. Here is a list of wrestlers aged 30 and under. And then they list, I think it was 28. I counted wrestlers on AEW's roster who were 30 or under, and it includes Osprey, Willow Nightingale, Sammy Guevara, Jamie Hayter, Deanna Purrazzo, Austin Gunn, MJF, Tony Storm, Chris Statlander, Takeshita, Wheeler Yuta, Jack Perry, Riho, Kyle Fletcher, Hook, Julia Hart, a few others. And so I just made a comment. I said 28 wrestlers aged 30 and under. So what is that, like 25% of the roster?
It's kind of true. The rest of
Because
them.
AEW's roster is massive.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
So I
did
just-
see.
so I'll just be curious to see if anybody decides to reply to that.
You and always trying to start arguments. You're as bad as the other person.
No, that's not me trying to start an argument. That's me.
Well,
just
the
trying
other
to-
one does it on purpose. They
that's
legitimately
me.
want to
That's
start
me
an
just.
argument.
That's me just making a snarky comment because so the fuck what?
You
It's
did
like,
see that.
because if the person who posted that onto their Facebook group and everything,
Uh-huh.
if they saw a comment
Uh-huh.
from just random person on another post and got so ticked off by that gosh darn it, they just had to go and post about all those people who got worked.
Very much.
Or as HH would say, you're working yourself into a shoot, brother.
Yes. You guys did see that Tony Khan did a interview where he said that right now AEW is doing better than WWE, right?
I don't know. I that's not the way I interpreted it. I saw
Why?
something where he was saying like, hold on.
Yes, his product's good. They have great wrestling, they have great promos, and they have great storytelling.
Yeah, which
What the?
they certainly
really
do-
watching the
they-
product?
They certainly do not.
And
But-
he said this because he thinks his product is better than WWE right now.
Well, of course he does.
Listen, he needs to stop snorting coke, just like that other wrestling promoter did. What the hell was that? What
Ugh.
wrestling promotion was that on Dark Side of the Ring?
Oh, Herb Abrams and the UW stuff.
Yeah. Tony Khan, stop going down that route, all right? Because
Yeah.
you're living in fantasy land right now.
Now, I guess I didn't really get all that. The part that I saw about that kind of stuck with me, and I posted a comment on it on another Facebook page. Tony Khan praises AEW promos for feeling like you're hearing a real person talk. Somebody else pointed out in the comment here saying, "Hey, guess what? It said, or here it is. It said, that's the point, Tony. If I want to hear real people talk on wrestling, I'll listen to a podcast. I want to hear pro wrestlers talk like pro wrestlers, even if it's cartoonish." which I get. Some other person here said asterisk except for Mercedes Monet.
Ooh.
Hey, that backstage promo, I don't know if you saw that backstage promo she cut towards the end of Dynamite on Wednesday night. I just sat there and I was going, I think she's forgotten how to cut a promo. But anyway, so I just quoted it in my comment. I said, "You're hearing a real person talk," and I said, "Which is the exact opposite of what you think when you hear Tony Khan talk."
Such a jerk.
Thanks, guys. Everything's great. The storylines are great. The wrestling's great. The promos are great. The production is great. Everything is great.
It was
Thank you for
so
asking me that question. You know, that's just not something I'm going to get into, but it's a very interesting question, and thank you for that question. Thanks,
I
guys.
it was hilarious to me. I watched Dynamite this week, and they were in the
Edmonton.
smallest venue possible. I swear to God,
They
like
were in a
that
small,
place.
they were in a small venue in Edmonton. Which,
That place was fucking tiny,
well, you know what? That's fine though, because
and it looks sold out. But we can only see
right.
one side of the ring, so we have no idea what the
Right,
other
but,
side
but
looked
that's
like.
the whole thing. If it's a small arena because they're only selling a couple thousand tickets, that's what it should be. If they were in a 15,000 seat arena and they'd only sold a couple thousand tickets, the place is going to look empty. It's going to sound empty. So, yeah, that's fine. The problem though was, and I found this so fucking hilarious. I think it was in the afternoon on Wednesday. I saw a comment. It was either on Cage Side Seats, because that's like kind of my default wrestling news website anymore, or something else that maybe just popped up. Meltzer was already making excuses for low attendance, and he was saying because Edmonton or this Saturday thing, because the Oilers are playing tonight, even though that game didn't start until after Dynamite ended, I don't think.
Fucking
He's
stupid.
like, there's probably going to be a lot of people who probably aren't going to choose to go to the show because they're going to be sitting at home watching the Oilers.
So every wrestling fan's a hockey fan too, like
Right, but
that's the excuse.
I guess. But the part of about it too was, again, just the show hasn't even fucking started, and you're already making excuses that they're going to have bad attendance. Could you do more PR for them?
It's so, and here's my thing. Like, I don't care that they're in small places. That
They should
That's
be with
cool.
the
That's
amount of
cool.
tickets they're selling.
like you said, if they're selling small places out, that's good. Like that's good for them because it's gonna sound and feel
Mhm.
packed.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's gonna look that way too because it legitimately will be. Like I said, I could tell that place was small though, just from the ramp that they had, which was almost no ramp. Um,
Well, that's kind of typical of all their shows. But yeah.
but it was just like you could tell they were in a small place just by the way everything was set up. But to make a statement insinuating, not necessarily saying it outright, it sounds like he insinuated that they are doing better than WWE. By what measure in regards to ticket sales and viewership on television? Because if you're going by those two things, you are not selling as much tickets as WWE because you don't even fill. You're not even going to size places that WWE is going to, and WWE is still maybe not selling out every show, but they are definitely packing a house to where they have a 15,000 seat venue for SmackDown and Raw, and it looks full. It may not be completely full, but it definitely looks that way. It doesn't look empty by any means. And their shows are getting way more viewership than yours on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
So how can you say you're doing better? That doesn't even make sense in any logical world.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not numbers wise, no.
He thinks they're doing better for two reasons. One, because he thinks it's better because it's his show and everything, and obviously he's entitled to think that. But the other way that he can say, I'm sure it probably is true, but it also points out the absurdity of it, and it also doesn't fucking matter. He's probably going to say we're doing better because our cage match ratings are higher. Our Meltzer ratings are higher. And you know what? That doesn't fucking mean anything.
No.
And that's
So, but
take that with a grain of salt.
yeah,
I mean-
so I mean, he's he's really delusional about it. He just is. I mean,
I mean, it would be
Dynamite
one
is-
thing to come out and say, we have a good product. We're continuing to develop that product. We want to continue to put on good matches, continue to have good promos and good storylines, and just continue to grow. And maybe one day, maybe in the future, we could be a company like the WWE on our own terms. Something like that. But to say that you're competing with and doing better than the global giant of WWE, is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's just ridiculous. So
I mean, if
Um,
WWE was still doing pay-per-views, legitimate pay-per-views where people had to buy, I would love to see the number of buy shares for that compared to an AEW buy share.
oh, yeah.
I'm sure it wouldn't even be freaking close.
Yeah.
Now, of course, WWE would, if they were doing those, they would definitely not have one a month because that would kill their buy shares. But or their buy rate, not their buy shares, their buy rate, and you guys know what I was talking about.
Yes, I do.
So but it would be very, it would be very interesting. But even if you put up their viewers, how many people are streaming it on Peacock, the PLEs, compared to how many people are buying pay-per-views, it's probably not even close. And then people could be, well, you can get Peacock for free. It doesn't cost you anything to have Peacock. But if you want to get, I'm sure it costs something to have Peacock if you want to have the live streaming stuff that goes on with WWE and stuff like that. I think you have to pay premium for a subscription for that. So it's not like it's completely free. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm talking out my ass now.
nah.
Somebody save me.
I get it. I mean, regarding this past week's Dynamite, it was the kind of show where it was like it was all right. Like there was nothing great on it. There was nothing really horrible on it. The worst part of the show for me was when Serena Deeb came out to be interviewed by Shivani because she should not be cutting long promos or long interviews. The fans didn't help either because the fans just totally tuned her out at one point and started chanting "Let's go Oilers." That always helps.
The women's match was
The women's match was
Ugh.
better than I expected it to be. It was Mariah May and who gives a fuck. But it wasn't as bad as I expected to be. Now, the one thing I did want to kind of make a comment about Dynamite. So now, dear brother Love would say, "I'm trying to apply logic to an illogical situation." That's one of his catchphrases on his podcast. So it makes, of course, no sense for the Bucks to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we can get away with attacking Tony Khan because we have ironclad contracts." That makes no sense.
No.
But fine. So then last week, of course, they beat up Kenny. Now this past week, Kenny comes out from his hospital bed or whatever the fuck it was, and he says, "Well, because I'm an EVP, I can put you guys in a match and blah blah." And that, of course, also makes no sense. If anything, because they have the same title, they shouldn't be able to do anything to each other in terms of like making matches or.
Well,
shit
if you put
like
us in the
that.
match, we'll just take us. If you put us in the match, we'll just take ourselves out of the match because
Right,
we
right.
have even.
So he announces it's going to be the new elite, whatever you want to call them, with the Bucks, Okada, and Jungle Jack off against FTR and two other people. Oh, it kind of reminded me of something else. That one guy I was telling you about on Cage Side Seats who just praises AEW all the time. When I brought up to him, I said Bucks versus FTR has gotten old. He's just like, "Oh, the matches are always great." I said, "So what? It's gotten old. There's no point for them to still be fighting and everything." Now, when I pointed out, I said, "If they've been wrestling this often in WWE, you'd be bitching about it." He, of course, denied that too. But anyway, so they announced that they're going to do the Anarchy in the Arena match.
Oh God!
So
Not again.
the Elite against the Bucks, and then they bring out the
Poor Wembley Stadium.
they bring out the other two guys at the end of the show, and I was following along on Cage Side Seats Live to see what people were guessing as to who it was going to be, and a lot of people were thinking it was going to be like this guy or that guy, and blah blah blah, and I was assuming it was going to be Moxley and somebody.
Nope, you were wrong.
I think I was assuming Moxley and Danielson. I don't know. I'm
it
trying
was
to remember
Danielson
now.
and some other guy. I can't
Danielson
think
and
of.
Eddie Kingston.
Oh yeah, Eddie Kingston,
Oh yeah.
So
the world's greatest puncher.
So I don't remember what Eddie Kingston has had going on with the Elite guys anytime.
Nothing.
recently.
It was
And
some
Danielson
stuff.
for that matter too. So we're doing an Anarchy in the Arena match of the Elite against FTR, Danielson, and Eddie Kingston. Tony Khan does what I like to call A to Z booking. He starts at A and he goes right to Z.
Yep.
B through Y never enter into the equation
It doesn't exist for him.
because there is no reason for those four guys to fight those four guys in a gimmick match of that kind with nothing else having happened between them other than with the stuff that had been happening recently between the FTR and the Bucks. I understand this guy's injured and that guy's injured and that. Oh, a lot of people are thinking Adam Page was going to come into it. I'm like, why the fuck would Adam Page team against the Elite right now? I mean, okay, yes, they suspended him from the Elite, but he was also such a heel. And as much as I probably don't want to see it, there's still unfinished business between him and Swerve. Oh,
Yep.
in a second, real quick. So why should Page be on that team? But so it's like, yeah, okay, it could be an entertaining, fun match and everything, but don't give me this thing about it's going to be a banger. It's a fucking gimmick match upon gimmick match. It's their answer to a fucking War Games match.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a clusterfuck, and that's fine.
So that's
But
how those matches are.
there's no reason for this to be happening, at least not now. Anyway, and then they spent another week making their world champion look like a fucking idiot. I understand if they wanted to keep the guys who were in whatever Swerve's group was as heels, but the fact that Swerve was so willing to trust them and everything, it was bad enough that when Christian came out the week before and beat him, that he literally laid on the mat for 5 minutes. Yes, Christian still kicked him or what everything once or twice, but it was still pretty terrible that he's laying there on the mat for 5 minutes while Christian cuts a promo. And then this week he gets beat up by his own friends. So it's like, wow, they're really making this is why people don't like babyface title reigns, because they make the babyface look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, they do.
Well, especially after the way they pushed him. They pushed him so hard to get the title,
Yeah.
and now they're doing this to his title reign. Like they're shitting all over it.
Yeah, and it's going to happen with Cody eventually too. And I'm pretty sure I've already seen some people say, "Oh, Cody's reign is boring." All right, it's been a month,
Yeah. Plus, you have the draft and all that stuff. You got to get the people on the new rosters and start those storylines. So give it a minute, people. Give it a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like,
doing the draft right after WrestleMania was probably not the best idea.
well, I mean, that's when they did it last year, so that's
But they didn't have any title changes.
well, yeah. But
No
anyway,
legitimate title changes.
but anyway, so it's like, yeah, this is why people hate babyface title reigns. But it's like you said, yeah, everybody wanted Swerve to be in the title, so it's a clear. Everybody wanted Swerve to win the title. I mean, it's a clear indication of be careful what you wish for, because apparently you're going to hate it 5 seconds after it happens.
I mean, that too. Plus, it's the same aspect of when it happens, did you book ahead after Cody wins? Like, did you know what you're doing with him, from the time he wins the title till August? Like, do you have that set up or no? Or do you only have 2 months out set up and the rest is a crapshoot till you get to those 2 months?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like Cody, they already knew who they were going to move around in the rosters and stuff like that. They just do the draft just to make it look fun. So they've already planned out to, 5-6 months in advance. Like this is where we'd like it to go if nobody gets injured. We'd like to see these things happen. WWE's pretty good with that. I
Gotta
wouldn't
make
say
it
the same thing
organic,
about
though.
AEW. I'm sure AEW was like, okay, we're going to put the title on Swerve. Does anybody know what we're going to do next week with him?
That's just it.
No.
It's the Vince Russo effect.
I sometimes wonder about, bro. I sometimes wonder. I sometimes wonder about how much of a long-term booking they're doing in WWE, and obviously like things can change, which I hate saying.
Card is subject to change.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Now the thing is that I don't, I doubt Tony Khan does a lot of real long-term booking. He might have a general idea in his mind, but I think he's so fucking flaky that he'll change thing on a whim anyway. Now you could also argue, of course, it's really hard to long-term book in AEW because everybody gets injured.
Yeah, that's another thing.
But yeah, I really don't think he books like with it. Like they're running Wembley again, which he keeps going back to the well to try to justify how well his company's doing now. Even though Wembley was 8 months ago now. So that show's coming up.
I can't believe they're going back to Wembley that soon. Like you would think they'd do it in a year.
Well, that's what it is.
Oh, is it going to be a year by the time they're finally there again?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is
Hyping it up for a long
so
time.
that's
That's all.
probably going to be their biggest show of the year, and I'll shit bricks if it does as good as it did last year.
It's Europe. It probably will, or close to it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Brian Last thinks it's going to be like the world-class shows in Texas Stadium. The first year was great, and then the next year was a little bit less, and the next year was a little bit less than that.
We'll see.
I think it depends on the card that they give them.
Yeah, what my point is that he should already have in his head the idea of every match he wants to run on that show. And I don't think he does. Even if he does, I think he probably doesn't do it wrong. Like,
And he has the issue of he has the other show like a week after.
well, yeah, that's just so fucking stupid too. I mean, but who again? The one where you know the crowd's going to be bigger is the one where you should be caring about a hell of a lot more. But it's like he better not be counting on Omega for that show. There's no way he's going to be ready by then. MJF, I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, he's another one who's still MIA.
Yeah, what the hell happened to MGF? I know he got hurt.
He's hurt.
He has multiple injuries.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
He's got like a bad shoulder, and I think he's been slow to rehab it, and
Some other stuff too.
It's been slow to recover. But the biggest problem, of course, is that too. It's like for MJF, so he has to go back after Adam Cole and everything, and then of course Adam Cole is still hurt.
That dude
And
hasn't been healthy
also-
since he went to AEW.
Yeah, and also, does anybody fucking care about those guys? I don't
Not
think so.
right now per se, but I think when MJF
MJ
comes back, he'll
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, but that also goes to show how not over they are. That the only thing that's going to get people to care about them at all is MJF coming back. So that just means they care about MJF. So
Well, yeah, AEW's hurting without I shouldn't say hurting. They definitely would need him there as a help. Like he's a
Yeah.
draw for them.
well, that's just it. He was one of the few guys who was definitely drawing.
Yep.
So
And I think Swerve would too, but like you said, they're shitting all over him right
if
now
they
in his
booked
title
him
reign.
better, if they booked him better, he could. I mean, because again, Mercedes hasn't done anything yet. Now, to be fair, of course, she hasn't actually fucking wrestled yet.
Because she's injured.
But yeah,
That's who I want to sign. Oh, you're injured? It's okay. Just come on and we'll have you do a whole bunch of promos.
we'll have you do a whole bunch of promos, which you will suck at. But so she could still draw, but the problem is I'm worried that maybe they've ruined it because it's been 2 months of her coming out and cutting bad promos and everything, and I don't know if anybody's gonna really care that much. Okada's not drawing, the Bucks aren't drawing, Jericho sure as shit isn't drawing. I mean, most of the time you look at the quarter hour things, like when you see the biggest drops, it's usually when either during or right after the Jericho and the Bucks have been on. I don't think you can even call, the company mascot, as Cornette calls him, a draw right now. I don't think anybody gives a fuck about Orange Cassidy. And what they're doing with him right now is so blatantly obvious, too.
Yeah.
They've got Callis coming out and talking into his ear and everything. And I know, and everybody's like, why is Orange Cassidy listening to Don Callis and everything? And I'm like, because Callis is going to side with Trent. Duh. Now, obviously, the announcers can't say that, but I mean that's pretty blatantly obvious. That's where that's.
And that's another thing. Like Callus's stable hasn't been very, out there, present.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, Hobbs just got hurt.
Yeah.
Hobbs got hurt in the match with Moxley. I don't know if one of the few guys that have an interest in watching. He got fucking hurt again. Fletcher's only with him because his partner's hurt. Osprey's a face,
Yeah.
and he's with his heel stable. It's a waste of
Makes
time.
0 sense.
They should just officially just let Osprey go out and do it on his own, because I think right now he's the only guy that they really have a chance to build around.
Yep.
So
100%.
And he can put on a banger every night.
Wait
Shut
a
up.
minute. Wait a minute.
Shut
Wait a minute.
up.
How many females we go
You
with?
are an
Females you
imbecile.
want him to go through? Banger.
Well, what was it? I was having a conversation on Facebook with our dear friend Mr. Sakamoto the other night. We were talking about movies and how like the summer movie season this year looks kind of
Oh, I did see that.
And I was saying about how like only like 2 movies that are on my list for this summer are either not a sequel / prequel / spin-off or an adaptation of some kind. Because like The Fall Guy is an adaptation because it was a TV show, Borderlands is a video game adaptation.
Yep.
Everything else was like Planet of the Apes, Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Alien Romulus, so I was like, I think there was only 2 things I saw that could be considered truly original. But he used the term banger in one of his comments. And I just replied to him. I went, don't use that term. It sickens me.
Just get a t-shirt made with that shit. Some type of phrase in that banger.
Well, I've been holding back on this comment on cage side seats. Because I'm waiting to use it on the next person who says it directly to me. Like I'm not going to like interject into somebody else's conversation with it. But the next time somebody like I'm having a like going back and forth with somebody, whether it's like an argument or just going back and forth, not necessarily arguing, just like making points, because there's a difference. But the next time somebody uses the term banger directly to me, I'm going to come up with something like, I always know who not to talk to when they use that word.
I don't know why that has become such a overly used phrase for
I don't either.
any kind of sport. Like
there's so much. I mean, we're all of the same general age group and everything, and we all had our specific type of slang and everything, back when we were teenagers in the 90s and shit. But some of the stuff that's become slang in the years since, I really don't get. Like res
no, it's Riz.
or whatever.
Riz. That's about how cool you are.
Yeah,
I got Riz.
It's supposed to be short.
My Riz is off the charts.
Supposed to be short for charisma, and I just of course
Rizzle
go,
my
"Oh
nizzle,
God."
bitch.
If you have to shorten everything into a 1-syllable term, that's annoying. And of course, the funniest thing I ever think about that is I remember on an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine when somebody used BRB, and Captain Hole, Andre Brower's character, didn't get it because he totally doesn't do stuff like that. And somebody said that BRB stood for be right back. He goes, it's the same number of syllables. Why wouldn't you just say the whole thing? And I went, it is.
Legitimate.
I mean, like, if LOL means laugh out loud, again, same thing. LOL, laugh out loud. Same cadence. You don't need to abbreviate that.
But it's so much quicker to type 3 letters. God, I can't
Okay,
be bothered with writing
typing
real
is-
words.
Typing is
Typing is
one.
different
Typing
than
is one
saying it.
thing. Speaking is another.
People
Hey,
speak.
Jeremy, I'll be BRB. LOL.
Yeah.
I detest. I'm
that's
showing my
cute.
age now. I detest when people speak in text language. Like
I do too.
that is so
Yeah,
annoying.
that's fine for texting.
When my daughter goes
typing, but-
OMG, I want to punch her in the head.
Here's another one.
I
Here's
want
another
to punch
one.
her in the head.
OMG. Oh my God.
Like
Same
just
syllables.
say oh my God. Like do not use letters. Like You're using the English language. Speak the English language.
I'm blowing up our group chat and all fucking three.
I'm gonna kill you.
OMG,
All
LLBRB, TT, TTYL.
I'm blowing it
WTF?
up.
I always prefer WTPF. That's another Homestar Runner reference.
Oh, I'm like, what's the P stand for?
What the Pafartel?
But oh my god, there's one that's like 7 letters. There's a thing that's 7 letters, and I can't think of it right now.
If you know, you know.
Oh, if you know, you know. I hate that one. I hate that one. That's the one I was thinking of. It's not 7 letters. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. It's 5. That is the when I saw that, I was like, what the hell are these people trying to say?
Oh
What the
my
hell
God.
are they talking about? Like, it took me forever to figure that one out.
I think what they're saying with that is
I know what they mean by if you know, you know, but I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out the abbreviation when I saw the letters. I was
Oh.
like, what the hell is that shit? Like,
IYKYK.
yeah.
Ick. I mean, obviously, if somebody's saying that to you, they're basically saying you're not in on the joke.
YOLO. There's another one. You only live once.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid.
Not according to James Bond back in the 60s. The movie was called You Only Live Twice.
YOLO.
YOLO,
bitches.
Like, of course you only live once. That's like the dumbest saying ever. Why'd you jump off that building? Well, because you only live once.
No, that's not.
Why'd you drive your car into a brick wall? Because I only live once.
No, that's not the context in which you use that phrase.
Are you sure? Because that's how a lot of people use it.
Well, then they're fucking idiots.
Do you see the world we live in these days? I mean, of course.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, Donald Trump's the president again. So
Terrible.
And we have 2 guys who are nearly twice our ages running for president.
Yeah, I don't.
That's enough,
Not to be
you know?
political. I don't even really want to vote. I'm so tired of voting for people that are older than my, well, as old as my grandfathers.
older than my parents.
If I had grandfathers, they would be older than my grandfathers.
No, my grandparents were all older, but
my
that's-
grandparents were ancient.
well, I mean,
It
okay,
does.
so
That
so-
position needs an age cap on it.
yeah. So I mean, my dad's going to turn 75 in September. The other day, my mother texts me and my sisters and says, "Well, me and your dad are at the urgent care right now because he was messing with the hedge trimmer, and he cut himself, and he's got to get stitches and a tetanus shot." And
Fantastic.
God
and
damn.
so when I was talking to him then that night, I said, "Dad, I think it's time for you to not do those things anymore."
Pretty much.
So, and here's the other thing too. My dad has always thought of himself as being capable, like handy. I have realized over the last 10 years or so, he is not. It took me way too long to realize that, but I realized that. So,
I love you, Dad, but you're
you're-
not that good at what you think you're good
yeah,
at.
you're 75 years old. I think it's time for you to not do these things anymore. So just if it means you have to pay somebody to do it, it means you have to pay somebody to do it.
And I love my dad. Okay, my dad is only 60. He's gonna be 68 this year. I would not want my dad to be president.
Yeah.
Jeez, I got the oldest dad here. Fuck.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
Yes, Joe.
It's just when you look at the people who are our leaders, you got a lot of people who are way too old, and you got a lot of people who are way too fucking crazy. And it's
And
like,
a lot of people have served too many terms.
yeah,
That needs to be changed too.
yeah. But so it's like this is the way our country has. This is the point our country has gotten to, and it's like, why and how?
Yep.
Or so why? I kind of know the how, but why?
I think when you look at the voting population, think about when I started voting at 18. Like, I was proud to vote at 18.
Same here.
How many people you think are starting to vote at 18?
I don't know. It's hard to tell anymore because I thought younger people were getting a little bit more savvy about some of this stuff, but the last couple of years have made me wonder about that. And without getting too political about this, when I'm seeing, and I also don't really know what to trust about the way that this stuff's getting reported, but these campus protests that are going on right now.
Giving you a foamy finger.
Ooh, the picture got all fuzzy. I don't know that some of these kids are really that intelligent. Because, like, if you want to protest what Israel is doing, that's fine.
Your facts.
I don't agree with the Israeli government right now, because especially mostly because of who's in charge of it and everything. But, and again, like I said, I don't know how reliable some of this stuff is. I've seen it, but again, you never know if somebody could be planted.
Mm-hmm.
I see people who are out there like with like pro Hamas stuff, and I'm like, okay, fuck you. They're terrorists.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of
again,
kids don't know
you
the full
can
story of
disagree with
anything.
what Israel is doing. You can say that they're committing, genocide, ethnic cleansing, whatever term you want to give to it. But your counterpoint to that is, I'm pro Hamas. You've just proven to me that you don't know shit about shit.
Yeah.
And you need to go learn a few things.
Yeah, the
Then
Palestinians
you
and the
can come
Israel.
back and talk to me.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you
Isra-
can't go protest. You go do whatever you fucking want. But if you're gonna be out there saying "Boo Israel, yay Hamas," I'm gonna say fuck you, bye.
Yeah, and what I think a lot of people don't understand is the thing that's been going on between the Israelis and the Palestinians has been going on for a really long time.
Yeah,
A very long time.
Decade. Century.
Like
the whole Middle East is just
A shit show.
like these people haven't gotten along before we were born. It's like it's nothing new. It's just that people get to see it really quick now. Like
so
So-
so yeah.
Not as cool as my 3-finger Fury of foam right here, baby.
So yes,
foamy
whilst I
finger. It's a problem.
whilst I think there probably are plenty of young people voting, it's like I don't know how well informed they are about certain things.
No, because they listen to TikTok and Facebook.
Right. Like,
If I'm a young person, I wouldn't want to vote for either of these ancient artifacts either.
oh no, and
Nope.
I totally get that. And if somebody like who was like say 20 years old, this would be their first presidential election where they could vote, because obviously the last one was 4 years ago, I think. And they said, well, I'm not voting because these are the two candidates. There's a part of me that wants to say, no, fuck you, god damn it, you idiot, you have to vote against that guy. And I think we all know who that guy is for me. But no,
No, it's just kidding. Don't go down there.
I do totally get it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the best we can do.
Yep.
It's like, I understand incumbency, because Biden is the incumbent president. So I can understand, hey, I'm running for re-election because when's the last time somebody didn't?
Yeah.
Lyndon Johnson. So that's fucking 1968.
Yeah, I think
Nixon doesn't count because he had resigned. But every other incumbent president ran for re-election. Well, no, Nixon wouldn't count because that was in a second term. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, the last two incumbents who didn't run for re-election were Lyndon Johnson, who did so willingly, and John F. Kennedy because his head was blown off.
Ouch.
Wow.
That dude can't even run.
Fascinated. Just his head was blown.
Well, that reminds me of another funny joke I saw this week. But no, so it's like, okay, I get you're running again because you're incumbent, but it's like Lyndon Johnson demonstrated, even though the reasons were totally different, just because you are the incumbent president doesn't mean you have to run for a second term.
No.
But then the fact that the other side, of course, says, oh, we're going to nominate this guy again who was president once, then lost, and is also 78 years old or whatever the fuck it is. It just shows how sad our political parties are. And I do mean the parties. I mean like the people who were like the people like running these organizations as political parties and everything. They are they kowtow, they're corrupt, they're they're just worthless. They're just worthless. That goes for both sides. Both sides equally suck in that respect.
First year I got a chance to vote was 96. That was the first time I voted.
Yeah.
2000 was my first vote.
Trying to think, who was running it? Was that Clinton
96
and
was
Bush?
Clinton Dole.
Clinton Dole.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I
my first-
remember. I think Ross Perot was on the ballot. I voted
Yeah,
for him.
he was again. but
I
he
voted
didn't-
for Ross Perot my very first time.
He
That
didn't-
was not
yeah,
a best. That was not a good bet.
I was going to say he didn't pull nearly as much support in 96 as he had in 92. But my first election to vote for him was 2000, which was, Bush Gore. And I was at college in Notre Dame, so out in Indiana. So I had to get the absentee ballot and everything. I registered to vote through the WWF at the time, SmackDown the vote thing.
Yeah, rock the vote with.
Did you
MTV.
really?
Yeah, that's where I went to register to vote. I
Oh
went
my
to
God,
SmackDown.
that's
Now they directed you to another site entirely,
Right.
but it was like I
The way you went about
maybe
it.
wouldn't have known where to go without that. So yeah, it
There
definitely-
and there's a big
definitely
thing.
helped.
Where are all the things that encourage people to register to vote?
Well,
MTV
people
used to
still
have
are-
rock the vote.
People,
and WW.
they still exist as far as I know, and I know people still like pound the pavement to do stuff like that. That's something that's evolved as the internet's become more internet. And everything.
But
But-
I don't really see it though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but what I remember the most too about when I voted that year, because like I said, I just had an absentee ballot. There was like all these instructions, and they were saying about how like if your ballot looks like it was tampered with and this that, and, may not be counted and may be thrown away, whatever. So like I had to fill out the ballot, and then had to put it into one envelope and seal that envelope.
Mm-hmm.
I then had to take that envelope and put it into a bigger envelope and then seal that envelope and then mail it. Problem was the second envelope was not appreciably bigger than the first envelope. And the only way that I could actually seal it inside was like I had to like turn like almost like bend like the top of the second envelope. So when I was looking at it right before I sent it, I'm like, this doesn't look like pristine by any means. I'm afraid they may not count this because they may look at this and say this was tampered with. And because also God knows what's going to happen to it in transit from Indiana to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Also true.
if my vote counted that year. It also didn't matter though because I voted for Gore and Gore did win Pennsylvania. So my one vote didn't make a difference in that sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember who I voted for that I've flip-flopped for a long time. I was independent because I was like, and I still vote for whoever I think is the best candidate, but it's I've never been just like I'm only voting for this party or I only vote for this party. Affiliated is one thing, but who I vote for has always been based on who I think is the better
Same.
candidate.
When I voted in the primary this year, which didn't mean a whole lot because nobody was really challenging Biden. I didn't vote for Biden. For the first time ever, I did a write-in vote, and I wrote uncommitted, which is this thing that a lot of people were trying to get people to do, which, like I said, because Biden's going to be the nominee, of course, and everything.
You could have put down like my left nut.
I could have, but that would have been stupid. But by putting the whole uncommitted thing, it's like it's kind of like a protest vote in a way.
Yes.
It's basically my way of saying,
You guys suck.
I really wish you weren't the person running, and that would be true.
I'm Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for Putin. That's essentially
What are you
voting
doing
for-
in the toilet, Putin?
Well, voting for Steven Seagal is essentially voting for Putin. He loves Putin.
Of course he does.
Um,
He's a man's man.
yeah, so I'm just like, okay, so this is my way of just casting like a protest vote, even though I know I'll be voting for him in November because I obviously can't vote for Trump.
Yes,
So
I get that. And I'm not happy with the fact that either of those guys are running. I don't know what to do.
yeah,
I'm
the
very
funny thing
confused.
too is like this election is going to be such a shit show. I'm not exactly looking forward to the one in 4 years either, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
wondering
looking
if-
bright.
Yeah, I'm
it's
wondering-
not looking bright for us
Yeah.
right now.
Let's say Biden wins this November.
God.
Trump could theoretically try to run again in 4 years.
Yes, you
Yep.
can.
and that would be god awful.
Be 80, 82, 83 years old. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that's
They'll wheel him out in a freaking. They'll wheel him out there with an oxygen tank or some shit like that.
I'm sorry, but if that was a plan 4 years from now, both parties really wouldn't like need to get their heads on a swivel.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. So let's say Biden wins. Like Trump could run again. The on paper front runner for the Democrats would be Kamala Harris because she would have been VP for 8 years, and I'm not a fan of hers at all.
Woohoo!
No
So
bueno.
it's
No
like
bueno.
both parties would, and I'm not saying Trump would be a front runner to run again in 4 years if he
He
lost
would be
this
because
year.
he would push the agenda for that, and the Republicans wouldn't want to put
They
anybody
cower.
front.
Cower before the might of
if-
Trump.
If
Yeah,
if the
Pretty much what
Republic,
happened,
if
even though
the
you got better
Republicans
candidates than him to run.
if the Republicans tried to run him again in 4 years after losing 2 elections, and fuck off with the election was stolen bullshit, which I know they'll say this year if he loses. But if they tried to run him again after losing 2 elections, that just goes to show how completely how the Republican Party has just become a cult of Trump, for one thing. But either way, let's just say like Trump and Harris are the front runners for 2028. That's terrible on a lot of levels.
Chopping off my left foot.
Yeah. But the brother problem
to Canada.
the other problem is I don't know what other great potential candidates are out there. Like we could see Barack Obama coming, once upon a time.
Oh yeah.
In the sense of like when he first kind of became a national player, everybody was already saying this guy could be president one day.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody like that for either party right now.
Bring back Mitt Romney. Bring him back.
Well, he's
Oh,
he's
Lord.
he's retiring from the Senate, and he's older too. And see, that's the funny thing. I was thinking about something like that the other day. I said to myself, let's say if Mitt Romney had beat Obama in 2012, it wouldn't have been great, but we may have never had Trump as a political candidate if that had happened.
Very possible.
Of course, I also was thinking about something yesterday when I was looking at it. I was looking at a list of it was a website that was ranking the 10 best HBO original movies of all time. And
Oh,
there were
God.
several on there. There were several on that list that I've seen. The one that they put number one was the movie they did about the 2008 campaign where Julianne Moore played Sarah Palin and Ed Harris played John McCain. And Woody Harrelson was the one strategist guy in it and everything. And they mentioned about how like it was a pretty prescient examination of where the Republican Party has gone in a lot of ways, with like talking about Palin's like willful ignorance and shit like that. And I sat there and I said to myself, could Trump have been a candidate if she had not been the vice presidential nominee in 2008? Makes me wonder.
Well, they screwed up by nominating her as a vice presidential candidate,
Well, the
vice
funny-
presidential candidate, running
Yeah.
mate for McCain, because I understand they wanted to have the female, VP run with him since you had a black guy, well, technically a mixed interracial guy running for president, but you bypassed the two good ones you could have had, and
Yeah.
you went to the one to Alaska.
Well,
Great
that-
job.
That was the whole thing too.
I'm Sarah Palin.
The
Because seriously, like I think there was a lot of votes I think that swayed to the other side, because you're like you want that as a vice president. So people are like, okay, our president brokes and we have that. Not good.
I remember Bill Maher doing a joke where he was talking about some subject. I don't remember what it was, but he was like, he said something about like, those are the scariest words I'd ever heard in my life until I thought of the phrase, "Hi, I'm Sarah Palin. Where are the nuclear codes?" But the whole premise of that movie and why it was called Game Change, it was based on a book which dealt about both presidential campaigns from 2008. The movie only focused on McCain and Palin, though. They didn't really focus on Obama, not from an insider perspective, at least anyway. The whole point was that like they knew that they weren't doing well against Obama, and they're like, we need to pick somebody who's gonna energize people and everything. And they were like, they mentioned like Romney and a couple other guys, and they're like, these guys aren't going to do it. So that's how they ended up on Palin. And the guy that Woody Harrelson played, I can't remember his real name, He was a Republican strategist. I don't know if he still is. I think he's one of the Lincoln Project guys now. I don't remember. But yeah, he pretty quickly realized that Palin was an idiot. Palin didn't care what anybody said to her about this is the way you have to do things and everything. She took it as like she was this rock star all of a sudden, and people were coming to see her,
Yep.
and all this other shit. But I also remember that he gave I remember seeing an interview with a real life guy afterwards, and he said he was talking about how much he regretted that they picked her and that they used her and everything. But he also said we wouldn't have done as well as we did if somebody else had been the vice presidential candidate. So he was still thinking that Palin helped their
Yeah.
vote total. I'd have to go back and look at what that electoral map looked like. I don't really think it did, because I don't think there was any. Maybe from like the popular vote total. As far as the electoral vote total, I don't remember there was any states that McCain won that he wasn't supposed to win. I remember there was a couple of states that Obama won that Democrats didn't typically win, like North Carolina, Indiana, I think. And I don't think either of those states have voted for the Democratic candidate since that election. So, yeah, but yeah, Sarah Palin, fucking idiot. The fact that she didn't even serve out her full fucking term as governor of Alaska pretty much tells you what she was in it for. So,
Yes.
All right, and on that note,
yeah. Oh my God, it's 12:30 practically. What are we doing?
Just
going crazy.
Hold
just
on.
talking.
Hold on. I'll get a second wind here in a second. Oh God, yeah.
Anyway,
No, in all
We're
seriousness, though, because of my allergies and how much my nose like itches and stuff, and I constantly do this, I really am starting to get worried that people see me do that and they wonder if they have a coke problem.
Dude, I had to put myself on mute and put my screensaver up because my allergies were bothering me today for whatever reason. I had a sneeze attack and I was like sneezing like 20 times.
Yeah,
Well,
my allergies were really killing me a week or two ago, and there was a shit ton of pollen around. I mean, go out to the car in the morning and it's caked on my windshield and shit.
yeller. Little yeller out there.
Yeah, it hasn't been quite as bad lately, but it's like until it's like a little bit more into summer, it's like I'm so like reluctant to spend a lot of time outside right now. Because
Your
now of course
body
we're getting
needs
like
the
nothing but
sun.
rain up here, so
Yes. But we're gonna
anyway.
call it a night.
yeah. I do call it a night.
We hope you had a nice time, enjoyed it with us. We went down a different rabbit hole tonight with a little bit of political talk. As you can see, none of us really enjoy anything that's going on in that realm because it's all
Well,
nutty jutties.
What's
But-
a bigger shit show, American politics or the Rocks production company?
Wow.
Hey,
That's
tied it back
up for
into the-
debate.
Tied it back into the
Pull
main
out for that
topic of the
one.
show.
So, but thanks for
People like
watching.
it
We
when you're
appreciate it.
topical.
Pat's eventually going to shut up.